Micro penis.
Ungraded video games back? Well, big money certainly seems to think so. What's going on with bricks and minifigs? And how was Heroes Con, which many people say is the greatest comic book con of the year? We're going to talk about all these things coming up next on the Ungraded Truth podcast. Detective Comics set a record for 1.8 million. Nobody really cares.
Who are annoyed that people are asking them questions, is this book bad? That question didn't exist a year ago.
Somebody's submitting like 25 vintage books and getting 15 9.9s.
We always think, how can it ever get crazier? And then it always does.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the #1 collectible show in the universe, the Ungraded Truth special stream tonight on a Friday. But it's a good thing that we could get the guys together because we have lots to talk about, as always. I'm Swaggle joined as always by Automatic Comics, Ryan, Manu of the 99 Newsstand, and Rob, Neo Cards and Comics, back from Heroes Con himself. Rob, how you doing? How was the trip? It's good to see you, home, back in your comic book basement.
It was good. I mean, anytime you can walk out of a convention with an AF-15, I think you're rolling all right.
Oh, spoiler!
Yeah, we see it hiding in the background
episode.
There.
Is it back there? Oh, sure
Yeah,
it is.
It's
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's back right there. Well,
there.
we won't get ahead of ourselves because we do have some pickups to talk about tonight. But before we do, we have to do a little bit of housekeeping. Guys, the Ungraded Truth YouTube channel, it's on and popping over there. If you have not yet subscribed to that channel, please hop over to the description and give it some love because we post special clips over there from time to time, as well as our Ungraded Truth Spotify page. If you guys are fans of listening to us on your favorite RSS feed, head on over to the link in our description and give us a follow over on Spotify. Also, we have a special new sponsor of the Ungraded Truth tonight and for many shows to come, Elite Comics11. We're going to talk a little bit more about them coming up later on in the show. But before we do get there, we have to, of course, set up some of the big topics that we have to hit because there's always like big things to talk about. I mean, we have video games, record sales. I mean, there's so many things that we have to unpack with that one. We got the bricks and minifig story that we got to retouch on. We got Magic the Gathering collector booster boxes selling at crazy prices right now when the hit rates are absolutely abysmal. So very interesting things to get into. But last little bit of housekeeping. This is a co-stream on all of our streams. If you guys have not yet subbed up, Ryan's channel, he's live over there. Neo's channel, he's live on his YouTube and his Twitter as well. So give him a sub. I'm live on mine. Wherever you are watching the show tonight, make sure to hop on over to the description and give everybody a little bit of love. But gentlemen, any other little housekeeping things before we kind of get into our main topics tonight? Anything you guys want to shout out?
No, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, let us go into our lead story, which was the graded video game sale for Super Mario Brothers in a PSA 9.6 A++ sealed gloss sticker second production that went for an incredible whopping price of $3 million, the most expensive video game to ever have been sold. I mean, and that's saying something considering we had the crazy boom of video games back in 2020 and 2021. To backtrack a little bit and set up the story a little bit further, Heritage Auctions had its recent video game platinum auction. This was the flagship game for that. This has a very interesting story, actually, that, it was found in, an old NES system. A lot of people didn't think that, this high grade of a copy actually ever existed, but this was one that was actually never really circulated, like meaning it wasn't actually put on shelves, which is why it got such a high grade distinction. And a lot of people were talking about how, maybe this could break $1 million. The previous record was $2 million in a private sale. Graded video games, ever since their controversy of, the WADA scandal and the lawsuits and the class actions and all that stuff, has had its major pullbacks. There's a lot of people that were soured on graded video games, but now we have this sale. And it kind of feels like maybe video games are back. Guys, I'm going to kind of kick it over to you guys and ask you what you just initially thought about this sale and this price before we kind of move on to some of the other interesting topics within this video game extravaganza. What do you guys think?
I mean, everything's back except comics, right? That's so it seems
comics could never.
But I mean, the tricky part for me always with video games is they're actually, they're always really confusing with the labels. There's so much variation between different prints and different stickers and different seals and all that kind of stuff. Like it's all, to me, it always gets a little tricky. So I always am wondering if that's something that maybe would hold that market back, but clearly not on this, where this went for, I mean, a huge number. I mean, $3 million and a new record is pretty crazy to see.
Wow. What did you guys think about the sale, Manu or Rob?
I love it. I mean, this is it's quite a lot more than it was when we were highlighting it on the last episode. I think it was at like 675,000. And you know, we anticipated a strong finish, but this is wild, right? And when I first saw that it had sold for $3 million, probably shared by one of you guys, is probably when it first got my attention. Like this final price, I was like, holy cow, that's a ton, you know. And then a couple of days later, which we're going to talk about in a moment, I discovered, or you showed me who bought it. And that's very interesting. And my thoughts on that aren't fully developed, but that is a much wider conversation, a larger topic. And that's what I'm excited to talk about. But in terms of a video game selling for $3 million, one of my favorite games, one of everyone's favorite games, I think that's fantastic. What does it mean? I don't know. Are video games back? I mean, this is certainly an indication that it's going to start happening. Like, you know, obviously we know what takes place after something like this happens. So I love it. And I want to dive into the weeds of what it all means and who bought it and so on and so forth.
We're going to get there. You set it up nicely. But Rob, before we do, just talking about the sale, what was your kind of initial thoughts?
I mean, like, it's cool. I'm kind of like Ryan. Like, I don't really understand graded video games and all the nonsense and shenanigans that are on the labels for them and all the different, like, little notes that they put on there. It'd be cool to own some games from, like, when I was a kid, but I just don't, like, I don't know. Like, I get it, but I don't get it. And, like, Manu kind of led into the whole, like, are real collectors, like, aren't buying these things. Like, it's institutions and businesses buying these super high end and rare things, which, I mean, the downstream effect is that it pumps everything else up. Like, it's going to bring everything out of the woodwork and, you know, quote unquote, raise the values of lower end stuff of this. But I don't know. Like, like I said, I get it, but I don't get it. Like, would it be cool to own a sealed copy? Yeah. Would I care if it's in a 9.6 or not? I don't know. Like, I don't know. This is
I would only buy a 9.8. I don't know why they're even buying 9.6.
I'm 10.0 gold label only.
Yeah, what are we talking about here? You know,
I want
this is from the 80s. This is copper age. Like, what are we?
I want the
here?
Zelda gold label color match.
Ooh.
Well, there were some Zeldas that did go up for sale, and we'll talk a little bit about that later on. But to the point of what Manu was saying, and maybe the more interesting part of the story that we can really unpack is who ended up buying the Super Mario Brothers for $3 million. Because as our show is titled, you know, there are no real collectors, because the people that always end up buying these high price figures seem to be big money institutions, kind of like AJ Scaramucci, who the day after this thing got sold, he made this post over on his Treasure Trove Instagram account showing that he was in fact the one that ended up buying this thing. If you guys don't recall what Treasure Trove is, AJ Scaramucci was the guy who ended up buying the Logan Paul Pikachu Illustrator card for $16 million. And he made mention upon his purchase that he's sort of trying to do this modern day collector hunt where he is going to put together the greatest collectibles and the greatest art pieces ever to be found, and just have the greatest collection in the world. A little bit of his background comes from his dad, who has kind of been in the financial world for many times. So there's a lot of talk about how big money institutions, companies coming in to make purchases like these and use them to kind of platform their own various business ventures. It's more of a marketing aspect to their business when they buy these types of things. I guess let me kind of throw that over to you guys. Do you feel like that sort of threw some water on the blanket for this sale, knowing that it was an institution that buys it, or is it the same to all you guys, no matter who ends up with it?
I mean, me personally, like I don't really have the problem with institutions buying things versus an individual, like a person with a bunch of money or a group of people with a bunch of money. I mean, like at the super high end, like how many people are really playing around in that area anyway? So it's like, who cares? Like I just like, I mean, it's cool to see the sale. I like seeing the big sales, but I'm not going to get all hurt that, you know, some like entity bought it, because I mean, people like, I feel like people think like maybe it's like, oh, if they hadn't bid on it, I could have owned it. And it's like, no, like it was going to go for a lot anyway. It's just maybe it went for a little more.
You guys agree? Rob or Neil?
I mean, I agree with that sentiment. I should have taken in more content about the purchase of this. I want to hear what Scaramucci has to say about the purchase, but just watching, even without audio, that reel of, you know, him and I think his brother and his friends like dressed as characters from Mario Brothers, like there was no shot at them not winning it. You know, when you have, this is an exaggeration, of course, but when you have endless funds, no one has, he doesn't have endless funds, but he has what appears to be, right? You spent $16 million on a Pokemon card. He wasn't letting that thing go. He has an objective here, and he has the capital, like an insane amount of capital, to make these things a reality for himself or his team, or his end goal. But there was no shot of him not buying this. Now, who was bidding against him? Who knows, right? But someone else, obviously, with really deep pockets. I didn't watch the action happening live, and I want to continue having this conversation. I want to develop these thoughts more, but you know, he clearly has a thesis about collectibles, and so does Jeremy Padawer, who's one of his like friends. They have a podcast together, and I'm not familiar with the other individuals on the podcast, but I'm probably going to consume some of it just to kind of feel what they're thinking. But I have heard Scaramucci talk about, I think there was a brief clip I consumed somewhere where I believe he was talking about Pokemon, and he said something interesting where he said Pokemon's like currency, right? Where there's, was it, I forgive me if it wasn't him, but I think it did come from him or from his podcast, where he's talking about the global value and the economic factor that Pokemon is, right? And how much of it trades annually, how many dollars worth of these things get traded around. And he talks about it in the sense that we talked about before, about like market cap and things like that, like really from a financial perspective, an alternate asset, but an asset class that's developing rapidly, being more and more real as a financial instrument or a place to even find liquidity or store your wealth if you want to. Like it's becoming more real in that sort of a sense than it's ever been before. And maybe in the 90s, to a certain extent, there was this kind of conversation. I was too young to maybe take it all in or remember it. But, you know, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies were an alternate asset class, and then they became very real and they became a financial instrument. And financial institutions that have, you know, certain governing bodies have now decided to take part in them. And is that also what's going to happen in collectibles? Are collectibles actually going to be looked at as an asset? And the other question I have is that a foregone conclusion? And there's a couple of wealthy, smart people that know that, and that's why they're jumping in? Or is it going to be them, their voice, their money, and their influence that actually makes it that? Like, are they seeing the writing on the wall, or are they writing on the wall, right? That's what I really want to find out.
Part is super interesting, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. I want to revisit the water thing, but Rob, why don't you chime in here? Talk about AJ Scaramucci buying this thing, treasure trove. What's your thought on this kind of big money coming in?
I have two thoughts. One related to that, one unrelated. The first one related is any of this high-end stuff that sells. Like, I'm not surprised that it's some group or institution buying it. We've been seeing it on the sports card side for a while. That, you know, between Treasure Trove and Logan Paul, and you know, there's these just like little factions of ultra rich, usually with like a front man to kind of, you know, help the marketing side of it. It does make me a little like, if I was a high end person, and I guess maybe it doesn't matter. It just always concerns me when there's not like, when the end user is not a collector and it's an entity. It always makes me concerned for when the downside comes, because they don't have any love of the game to actually hold on to it. So when shit goes sideways, it could go quicker. When you have people buying it that aren't buying it because they truly want to own whatever it is, whether it's a comic, a card, a game, doesn't make a difference. When it's just like an asset that they're looking at like that, like the second something goes sideways, they're going to sell it immediately. So it makes the floor a lot lower potentially. And then my unrelated one is just more of a, video games are not meant to be slabbed. Mario is meant to be free. The cartridge
Jumping
should
around.
should be uncaged. You should be blowing on that cartridge and putting it in your NCS and trying to get it to work. And let Mario run. Mario was made to run free. He should not be caged.
What's funny about that is actually a lot of the sentiment within the video game culture. You know,
I mean,
no matter what hobby you're in,
it's all of them.
yeah, it's all of them. They're all the same. They're all the same.
I
There's
was
the
at
same complainers in everything. Like you see it in coins, you see it in comics, in cards. Like, God, it gets. We've talked about before. It's like it gets a little tiring after a while. Just the complaining. It's like just let people do what they want.
Yeah, no one's ever going to agree, right? Like this would be brief, and I want to jump back into this. But the other day, I was at a game store where, I mean, I don't know what it's called, right? Where they sell Magic the Gathering cards and TCG and so on and so forth. And I just walked in because I was in the neighborhood, and it has something like a comic book store appeal to me. So, you know, I want to walk in for the energy. And they were unboxing the new Marvel Superheroes Magic the Gathering items, right? There was the collector boxes, the other boxes, special edition boxes, different boxes. And he said, these are going to be available this weekend. We can't sell them yet, so on and so forth, but they obviously get their inventory early. And, you know, I led with, you know, I'm not a TCG player, but I am a collector, and I do look for the more valuable stuff. And I led with that so that he didn't find that out later in the conversation and think I was the enemy, right? The asshole that wants to slab or look for the valuable stuff. And so I led with that in a friendly way to kind of just have that already established. And I said, well, which one of these boxes would I buy if I wanted to find the valuable card? And he said, the collector's box. You have to buy the collector's box. And I talked to him a little bit about the Spider-Man, Magic the Gathering, so on and so forth. And he went into not a rant, but he went into the fact about how Magic the Gathering people didn't like the fact that comic book and card people were slabbing the cards. They're like, we don't slab our cards. We don't do that. We play with our cards. And it's that same conversation, right? So you're always going to have both sides, and everyone gets to have fun within the community. And that tension keeps that friction, the tension keeps things interesting. It keeps a dialogue going, right? So that's kind of fun. But back to this. Is this a good thing? You know, are these huge amounts of money, and I'm not picking a side, I'm just having the discussion. Are these huge amounts of money and this massive publicity that these sales are getting, is it a good thing, or is it the end? Like, is there going to be an inevitable crash as everyone starts to buy things for more than they're worth, if that's the word to use? Like, are they going to get left holding the bag? Like Neo said, you know, when the guys that have hundreds of millions of dollars decide, oh, this is not fun anymore, and they lose some money, they're just going to sell it before the end of the year and write it off, you know, like, and they're just going to move on. Like, people that play with this amount of money, they're going to take some losses, and they know how to cope with that and move on to something else that's going to be profitable for them. What does it mean for the everyday collector? Is this a good thing? Is this the beginning of a collectible boom again? Or has the boom silently been taking place, just not in comic books apparently, and there's an inevitable crash? I can't figure that out. Like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be playing here or if I'm supposed to be avoiding it. I'm a little nervous, but excited at the same time. Like, can any of you guys help me sort out my thoughts? Like, where are we going?
I mean, my thoughts on this is like the only place where I've really seen like, to me at least, like the high end transfer down to increases in the lower end is cards. Like cards, we've really seen like the entire market moving. But with comics, like it's not like we haven't had similar big sales. We've talked about before, we had the Action Comics sale for 15 million. We had the Batman 1 sale and the Superman 1 sale, like for big numbers, all that kind of stuff. And so like we had big sales there, and other comics generally have still, like, we're generally flat. We're not down in that like downtrend anymore, but we aren't like taken off like everything Pokemon and, you know, and all of that. Same thing. I mean, and maybe I'm just not as familiar with it, but it feels relatively similar with manga. You know, it's like the big stuff's moving, but how much impact is it really having on the lower end stuff? And with video games, we're seeing a big sale, you know, for these big numbers, but how much impact is that really having on the lower end? I don't really feel like any of this is necessarily moving the lower end, that where more people really live, that like we're seeing in cards. And so that's why the one that scares me the most is cards, because cards feels a lot more like what we saw during the COVID boom, you know, where it's like everything was going up across all ranges. And so then, like, is it real? And like, what happens when it starts to pull back and you get a bunch of people starting to lose money, and they just start selling into it? But in these other areas, if it really is just like the super high end that's really moving, I mean, if that drops, like, what do I care? You know, it's like, it's a headline maybe, but it doesn't really matter otherwise.
You know, there was another clip, and I think it was the Treasure Trove. What is their podcast called? I want to address it appropriately. But their
Give me a second on
podcast,
that one.
sure, thank you. There was another clip where they were talking to the guy from Pawn Stars, you know, the main guy, Rick, right? Yeah. And he said that comic books are next. He thinks comic books are an underappreciated collectible category that has yet to boom. And yes, you mentioned we've seen some large sales in the Superman one, so on and so forth. Yeah, this clip here. But like, that's exciting to me to think, because all the other markets in collectibles are booming and crazy things are happening, and all price ranges seem to be affected by the enthusiasm. But we haven't seen that in comic books. Does that mean, I mean, like, I feel like that means comic books are next. Like, it's just going to happen. One morning we're going to wake up and the crowd is going to be sourcing comic books.
I mean, that's possible. Treasure Hunters is the name of their podcast.
Treasure Hunters.
You know what's interesting about this? Not really where I was thinking that we would take the conversation, but since you guys are chatting about it, I figure I'll just weigh in. You know, I do wonder if in collectibles there is just rotation of money, and I just wonder if cards is just in that winner take all flywheel, because it's like, yes, Action One can sell for $9 million, or this Mario Brothers can sell for $3 million, but like, why isn't the low end moving? Probably because I could just go into Pokemon and do better, you know? So if you are somebody who is like, you know, looking to get into a collectible world, and you got all these different verticals to choose, I mean, you're probably just going to go to the one where you actually have like the liquid value, like you do in Pokemon and trading cards and all that sort of stuff. And so I say all that to say, I don't know if this would necessarily move video games or comics. Like, the only thing that's going to make those things move is them actually moving faster than Pokemon. And I just don't know if that's possible. But I don't know what you guys think about that.
And one of the comments I saw in the chat that I really do think is a big driver for cards is it's the mobility of them. Like, they're so small, they're so easy to take a bunch of them someplace. You can have vendors that can easily just travel with them to shows, where they can bring like cases of cards like on a plane, and then just rent booths that have like glass cases to display them. You know, they don't have to, like with comics, even with like things like video games, manga are the friggin' phone books. You know, those things are huge, you know, and so like all this stuff that takes up a lot more real estate, it's just not as easy to carry around and do little trades. Or like, you know, you could have somebody that has like a case of cards that has easily millions of dollars in one case, or hundreds of thousands in one case. Whereas like, to have that in comics, outside of a few very expensive items, you've got to have like a whole wall set up, like hundreds of pounds of stuff you're lugging around. And so I really think that that has got to be one of the big pluses with cards in terms of collectibles, and how the market works with them and shows and everything, is they are just so mobile. And also I think we were kind of touching on a little bit is the liquidity of them. I mean, I remember a few months ago, and we may have talked about it on here, people were talking about how, like, on the, we'll call it like the less I don't know, the bad side of the law, you know, type things, like people can travel with them, you know, overseas and find a show and sell it and immediately have cash. You're not, you know, and you're not traveling with 20, 30 grand in cash, but you've got a few cards on you. You could go get that at a show easily. And it'd probably make it through on a plane or whatever. Nobody even think about it. And so there's very interesting things that come into play when you're talking about cards and that side of it as well.
You make a really good point. I want to quickly, Binky here in the chat says 9.9, what you talking about? Comics went tulip in 2021. Their time came and went. And I like the way he phrased that. Everyone might be familiar with like the tulip craze from way back in the day. It's an analogy everyone uses, and it was very famously associated with cryptocurrencies 5 or 6 years ago, or maybe even a touch more than that. But in any case, what I want to say to that is, true, they did, but every collectible market did that. And every collectible market then went down and now has come back up. Comics have not yet. That's the question. Like, every collectible market went tulip crazy in the pandemic, right? And then collapsed. And now we've
Well,
seen
and
cards.
a lot of them took a long time to come back. I mean, it's like I
Well,
talked
yeah.
about my I had vintage Pokemon cards. I had like a Shadowless Charizard and like a base set, first edition base set Gyarados and that kind of thing. And I was in the red in those until earlier this year. And all of a sudden, vintage like took off, and it was with I think it was with like the big Charizards. I think that's probably what pushed it. That, you know, can thank Scaramucci, I guess, that I was able to sell my cards back in the black, you know. But it's like, because nobody cared about vintage. It took 5 years for that, for my card to get from where I paid to be able to get out of it in the black. So things didn't all just come back.
These guys are doing a lot for the market. Like, we're being super analytical about it, but they truly are. Like, you know, I can show that headline to someone and be like, no, cards are a great investment. Video games are a great investment. Look. And to someone that's not thinking about it or been around for a decade dealing with the ups and downs, they're like, oh man, you know, there really is something going on here. It does make for an easier sell, right? And tulip mania is what I think they used to call it. Swag, sorry.
I want to take us back. Rob, do you have any other thoughts on that? Just what the guys were talking about with trading cards being more liquid and easier. Before I bring it back to the video game conversation.
I mean, I agree with Ryan. I think one of the biggest problems is that comics just don't feel transactional enough, and that's what people want. They want that action. They want that, like, the flip game. They want be able to walk into a show with one thing, trade it 16 times, you know, sell it a couple of times and walk out with something completely different. And I think part of that is the size, like the form factor of the collectible, that makes it more difficult. I think also a large part of it, and we've kind of touched on this in previous episodes, I don't think and this is just me coming off of, you know, 2 days at Heroes Con, I don't think the dealer mentality is there for that. Like, too many of the dealers are still in the old school mindset and not thinking the way like card dealers do, I guess. Like, you know, if I walk in with a PSA 10 whatever slab and a card, and I want to trade that for something else, like, there's just some generally accepted practices of like what's going to happen with that deal, of like the percentages that we're going to value stuff at and things like that. Or even if I go to try to buy a book or a card, like if it's selling for this price on eBay, or, you know, the card ladder price or market movers price is this, there's like a reasonable expectation of kind of where we're going to meet at, and like everyone's on the same page. In comics, I don't always feel that. There's some dealers that are absolutely like, oh yeah, okay, it's going for this. Sure, like normally I'm going to get hit with 13% in selling fees. Let's meet somewhere in the middle and call it a day. I feel like you don't see a lot of comic dealers that work that way. Like, they're still stuck in that old school mentality of, oh yeah, well, if you want to trade, I'm only going to give you 60% value. You know what? I'm just like making numbers up, but you guys know how it is. I think that's the biggest thing holding
the other
back.
Strange thing is, it's like, you'd think like it's just like an old school mentality with like maybe like a little older collectible, but like I watch a lot of like silver and gold channels and that kind of stuff, and they talk about this, and it's like a lot of silver and gold dealers, they're just looking at turning stuff over as fast as possible and getting their tiny margin, you know, and they're looking at it about replacement costs. They're not thinking about what they paid. You know, it's like, if they overpaid, so be it. They get rid of it, and then they've got their next deal where they can get something for less and keep moving forward. But comic dealers, like, at least it seems at a lot of cons, like it's not everybody, but a lot of comic dealers, they're just like, I paid this and you're going to pay more than I paid.
Yeah. I think all it is.
I think
that's the biggest mentality hurdle is comic dealers are, I don't know if they're afraid, they're unwilling to take a loss on something. Like, they would rather, and I remember I had a good example of this a couple of years ago when I bought my X-Men 1. There was a dealer that had one. I don't remember what the grade, I don't remember what the price was. But I asked him about it, and I was like, oh, like, you know, that's in the general grade range that I'm looking for. Where are you at on it? And he pulled it down and he looked at the sticker and he's like, this is a dealer that has this set up at a show. I don't even want to tell you the price because I know I'm nowhere close to market. And I'm like, well, then why do you even have it out?
Yeah.
And he's like, I just got to wait. You know, it'll eventually get back to this number. I just got to wait it out. And it's just like, and he had a price like it was still a COVID book. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, and I'm going to make up numbers here. Let's say he had it priced at 5K and current market was like 3.5K. It's like, are you better off to wait for that book to get back to 5K maybe if that even ever happens. Or are you better off to just take the 1.5K loss, get 3.5K in your pocket, and then turn that 3.5K over a couple of times and make your 10, 15, 20% with that 3,500 versus the hopes, dreams, and wishes that the X-Men one gets back to the price point that you needed to get to. And you needed to actually exceed that if you actually want to make money on it. It's not that you have to get back to that number. It has to get above that number, if you're factoring in like your costs. Plus, you're hauling that thing around for months or years. Like, it's like, guys, what are we doing?
I just sold a book that I lost like $1,200 on, and it's like, but that's what the price is now. It is what it is. So
I think there's definitely a few things at hand. I'll just add in before I transition here. Comic dealers have never heard the term opportunity cost. They just don't understand what that means. Number two, I think comic dealers, and this is just a judgment because a lot of them are, a little bit on the older side. I genuinely think they operated for a long time with asymmetric knowledge, and they don't realize how prevalent like GPA has become, eBay sales, whatnot, abilities to buy comics on, a page like our sponsors that we're going to talk about very soon. But like, there's so many more opportunities to find these books. And before they used to be like the big dog who just, this is the only place you could find this giant size X-Men one. And then, so they got away with that for a long time. And then the last point, comics have only always ever gone up. So like the guy that's telling you, Rob, that like, oh, I'm just going to wait for it to go back up. It's like, dude, 2021, like this is like,
throw those numbers out.
Yeah, you got to throw this number out, like totally. And I think that a lot of them had never accepted that. But maybe as we talk about HeroesCon later on, we'll talk about maybe they finally come around. But before we do that, I just want to transition back to one more aspect to this graded video game thing that I just think is so interesting. And it's going back to like the big money interests coming in and how, in a lot of ways, I wonder if the Logan Paul Pikachu Illustrator sale and what he did with it and the marketing behind it completely changed the game, right? I mean, you have these new companies like Treasure Trove coming in that are kind of doing these things. We've talked about Kevin O'Leary many times as he's kind of marketed stuff. People are using their platforms and social media to promote their things. And it reminded me of, funny enough, back when graded video games were going crazy, the WADA video games controversy that surrounded some of those sales. And I was looking back at those previous lawsuits, and a lot of the language in it was, WADA conspired with Heritage to promote the items, and they all gain because of the fact that if it sells for more, WADA charges more for the fair market value of the item, and Heritage makes more commission. But like, reading back on it, the language that I'm just sort of like, that sounds so tame now, or it comes off to me as like well, duh. I mean, that's what Logan Paul and Golden did. Like, that's what Treasure Trove is doing now. That's what anyone who has graded manga is doing. And I just sort of wonder if like, is the world just so different now? And was that graded video game controversy kind of like not really there, or have we been like, now, I don't know, we're now drinking the Kool-Aid of how this collectible world works, and we're all in this space. I don't know. Do you guys know what I'm getting at with this? Do you guys think it's interesting?
So you're saying like we're at a place now where we, instead of looking at it's weird to call a pump artificial, like what marketing isn't artificial, right? You have to market it because the demand isn't there. So that's why advertising exists, to create the demand. All advertising is artificial until the demand is real, right? And so we come from a place where, oh, you're pumping that, it's dirty, and now it's not dirty anymore, and we're kind of buying into the pump. Like that sentiment.
Defensive bidding is allowed now. So
come on, it's in the writing.
Do whatever you want.
Normalize defensive bidding.
Oh man, that's funny actually. Yeah, I hear what you're saying though.
I don't know. I thought that was interesting. You did ask Manu who the other bidders on that Super Mario game were. There are some people that came out with it. Shout out to Henry over here, great video game collector. He was actually in this game up to $2 million with the buyer's premium. He ended up backing out. And then actually one of the co-founders of Reddit, if you guys know who Alexis Ohanian is, he was one of the co-founders of Reddit. He also publicly tweeted that he was one of the underbidders. and actually said, a guy who's worth probably like $1 billion. He's like, yo, I tried to go the distance with this one, but I'm betting it was a fund or another rich guy who really loves graded games. But it's kind of crazy that a hobbyist like him, who's like the co-founder of Reddit, who's like a billionaire, was like, I got beat out by a fund, guys. I'm not going to spend
It's like
$3 million
he's wiping his
on this
hands of
game.
it.
Dude, this is
Yeah.
amazing. Maybe this is the thesis playing out where like people that put their wealth into art and other sort of historically significant sort of things, maybe that's for the older generation, right? And the younger generation with money, literally the way that we kind of talked about might happen is looking at nostalgia and the things that they grew up with as that sort of thing, right? Like, why do we still look at it as kid stuff? We're not kids anymore. We participate in things that we loved when we were kids, so it makes our inner child feel alive, but we're not kids anymore. So it is real. It's real money. It's holding real wealth. We're allocating real funds to it. Maybe it is fine art 20 years from now or the same sort of thing. And rich people are going to they're going to make their decisions about how much money, how much of their wealth they'll allocate into that class. But maybe it is actually real and sustainable, because if the Reddit guy and some other millionaires are all going after it, yeah, maybe it doesn't have an effect on the lower priced products, maybe, but maybe they're two completely different worlds, and that world has now been established where previously it wasn't, perhaps, and maybe
I mean, I think that's the bull case argument is that this is our generation's art. You know what I mean? Whatever it is, whether it's comics, video games, cards, whatever. We don't care about paintings. We don't want a painting on the wall, but maybe we want an original art piece from Todd McFarlane, or maybe we want ASM 300 and a 9.9, or maybe we want a PSA 9.6 sealed Mario. Yeah. Or maybe we want an ultra rare Star Wars toy still in the packaging. Like that's our Van Gogh. That's our, whatever, insert whatever artist here that, you used to see people in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s going after for their display pieces on their walls. We want a ASM 15 or an AF 15 hanging up in our office as a talking point, not a random painting. Like I think that's the bull case if you want to make it. That's where our headspace is that we care more about that type of stuff than a random painting.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that is the case for a lot of people, and that's why I'm somebody who actually does believe in the graded video game space. I do think that someone mentioned in the chat.
Have you won one yet? I know you were bidding before, but have you won anything yet?
I got a couple things. I'm not ready to talk about it yet, but I did lose out
first before you talk.
Yeah,
exactly. You build the position and then you double show.
Arcade Flyer all over again.
Exactly. Arcade Flyer, I secured my position. That's why I was ready to talk about it. But
the position, then execute double shill.
Exactly. Just other little things, because again, allow me to nerd out, guys. I think it is funny because yes, there was a lot of hype in that time with the Wada Games thing, and I think again, people got over their skis. There was a lot of people that lost a lot of money. They got burned, but that was just because there was a information gap. Nobody knew how many sealed whatevers there were, and if Wada was saying this is pop 1, I mean, you could say that, hey, they're lying or whatever, or you could say they're actually just telling, no, it's pop 1 because we've only graded 1. But that doesn't mean that there's only 1. So, it depends on how much you want to take them literally. But I did think it was funny that, a lot of memes are coming out now. Shout out to High End Garrett, who had this one here. Back when that controversy happened, Carl Jost, who's like a huge YouTuber, made that video game scam alert. And High End Garrett took his original thumbnail from 2021, crossed out the 2 million, put in 3 after the sale, and said, we need an update on the YouTube video now. Graded video games can't be stopped even by YouTubers. If there are people who have been in the video game market for a long time, this has kind of been their Super Bowl victory, because they're kind of back here. There's another post here that I thought was funny. Wada founder Dennis Kahn lied to us. Dennis Kahn lies about a Mario game being worth 1 million. Actually, it's worth 3 million. I thought that was pretty funny. So I don't know, guys. Grading video games might be back, could be a real category as far as I could understand, with the other sales that occurred at that auction. Some highs, some lows. some business as usual. There was a golden auction sale that happened that also did very, very well. But I think that if you're somebody who is into graded video games and you believe in it, this is probably like a good place to start to get into it. At least that's my own opinion. But I don't know. Anything else on the story, guys?
No, nothing else from me.
Video games to the moon. I'm all about it.
All right. Well, we have lots of other stuff to talk about, like the Bricks and Minifig story, like Heroes Combat. Before we get there, we got to give a shout out to a new sponsor of the Ungraded Truth YouTube podcast. That, of course, is Elite Comics11. If you guys don't know about Elite Comics11, they are the largest, most trusted, community-powered comic and collectibles consignment page on social media. Do you want to buy or sell comics or collectibles fast and securely? DM Elite Comics11 on Instagram. They're always buying collections too. You can check them out. They have live daily sales. They're going to set up an expo in LA coming up, which we'll talk about in a second. But we are proud to say that Elite Comics11 is one of our new show sponsors. Manu, I know that you've been using Elite for a long time. I know that you're a fan of them. I mean, why don't you talk a little bit about this relationship here?
I'm actually really excited about this, Swag, and I think you guys know that. I do use Elite. Ali is the owner of Elite, and there are a lot of friends that also work for Elite, and I like communicating with all of the guys there, the whole gang. But this just feels really good to me because I love that they're a sponsor of the show. I love that we have this partnership. I love that I have history with them. I browse Elite's Instagram page all the time. I buy from them. I sell on Elite. Ali and I talk about really specific things. I've done things with them in person before. I've never sold live. They do live sales as well, right? With buyers and with sellers in the community. I've never sold.
They got one going on right. They got one going on right now.
It's live right now. It's live right now. So this is very natural and easy for me to support, and I feel super good about it. Like just a little bit of insight on them. Ali, the owner of Elite, is super big on his reputation. And that kind of protects us because he's going to vet his sellers to a pretty strict extent so that he never ends up looking bad as a result of something going wrong. So that serves us as buyers. And he also offers a great guarantee if you're buying from them. I'm a super picky buyer, so I annoy them with a lot of questions. When there's a book posted, I'll ask them to ask the seller of the book to provide pictures of this, pictures of that, just so I don't regret a purchase or buy something without seeing all the images. And they allow that. They want that because they don't want anything to happen that you're not happy with when you receive the book, right? So I just feel really good about this. I look forward to talking more about Elite. There's a story that I'm going to tell about some really cool books that recently were transacted by Elite, and we'll do that at the end of the show because it's just a fun story. It's a story I would have told anyway. But having them be partners with us, our sponsor, shout out to Ali, shout out to Bill over there, who you'll see hosting live sales a lot, and a lot of other people in the community. So they started organically on Instagram, grew with the community. They do really well there. And if you're on YouTube and not on Instagram and you haven't checked them out, hop on over there, shoot them a follow. Definitely tell them if you hadn't heard about them before that you heard about them from us. I want them to know that people are hearing this and going and taking a look and engaging with their platform and stuff. And books of all prices. You know, you could buy a book for a couple $100. You could buy a book for $100,000. A lot of people sell there. There's really cool stuff. There's an Acclaim Maximum Carnage right there. That's my kind of thing. And I look forward to telling the story at the end of the show as well. But awesome platform. You can buy with confidence. Ali runs it. Ali runs a tight ship. And I'm super proud of this partnership. And we'll obviously be talking much more about them. But I love it.
Just a couple other, to reiterate what you said, Instagram account, Elite Comics11. They are a consignment page. If you want to do some selling of some books, they're obviously a place where you can buy books. They post stuff every single day. As you guys can see, it's one of the great places to buy comic books. And I always say, if you were somebody who is a comic book buyer, you got to be everywhere. You got to get on Instagram. You got to follow Elite. You got to make sure that you don't miss some of these deals because they always got things like deals of the day, things like this. I mean, I noticed that there was this one comic book, and Ryan, I feel like you got to talk a little bit about Elite and this one. They posted a Tales of Suspense 39 first appearance of Iron Man in a 1.0, 3,700 or 3,799. But this one, if you'll notice,
Yeah,
It's
seen
a
it right
double
away.
quote copy. Why don't you take it away and kind of explain this, because you recently did a video on this one.
Yeah, so I was doing a video talking about you often hear people say that they're hunting for double quote copies, and I just wasn't really sure how rare they actually were. Because I'd always talk about it when I'd see him. It's like, oh, that's not a double quote. You make some like facetious joke or whatever. And so I actually looked at the last 100 sales in a recent video of Tales of Suspense 39. And for double quote copies in the last 100 sales, there were only 5. And when you have double quote and blue under the table, which you see, this one doesn't have the blue, but it has the double quote. When double quote and blue, there were only 3. And so
We
like
should quickly explain in case. Sorry, we should quickly explain just what the double quote is in case people don't know what you're
right.
talking
So
about.
it's basically it's how the book was cut. And so what people tend to want is if they want, like, and this is when you start getting nitpicky on things, but hey, we're comic collectors. Comic collectors are often kind of nitpicky. And so you're looking for, that ideal cut book, one that has a good wrap and everything. And so very often that second quote on the outside of Iron Man is partially gone. Sometimes it's completely gone. Sometimes it's cut all the way up to the exclamation point. And so looking at how many actually have that full double quote, I was surprised how uncommon it actually is. Like I said, out of 100 sales, only 5. So really about 5% of copies roughly have the double quote. And so if it is something you're looking for, there's a copy up there. But yeah, it's just, like I always hear people talking about it, and I thought I would just do the work and see how uncommon they actually were. But just some other thoughts, because I have also been buying with Elite for, probably since 2019, 2020. It's been 6 or 7 years since I've been buying stuff on Elite. And I always tell people, because people ask, like, oh, where do you find some of this stuff? Like rare, because I'm a big like Golden Age collector. I like to buy a lot of like more difficult to find books. And like Mickey said, like you've got to follow everywhere. And I have found a number of rare or tough to find books on Elite. And I brought one of them here. This is one of my PC books, and this is the Black Cat number 50 and a 9.0, and it's a file copy, and this is, I bought this on Elite. And so that's why it's like, whether you're a like looking for less expensive stuff or more expensive stuff, like I've seen them sell, like I remember during the comic boom, I watched them sell a TMNT 1 first print 9.8 for like 250 grand. Big stuff sells on there. So that's what I'm saying. Like if you aren't on Instagram, like Instagram isn't, I think like if you're not on there, like people still might think it's like, oh, people are just posting pictures of their food and that kind of stuff. It's like, that's not what it is. Like Instagram has a very robust comic community, and Elite really is the top of the top when it comes to like consignment type pages and the stuff that they have. And the fact that, like I said, like that was not a cheap book. That was multiple 5 figures. And so like, you can be comfortable making large purchases with their platform.
Well, like you also said, it's not always 5 figures you got to spend. They got some good deals on some books that, man, look at the Journey into Mystery 85, First Loki, deal of the day under 1,000. Rob, I know you just went to Heroes Con and you bought a lot, but like when I saw this, I was like, dude, I cannot believe that this book is under that. That seems like a steal.
Yeah, this is actually on my long list of things that I eventually want to get. I bought some stuff for Elite. Some of my X-Men filler books I've purchased from them, commenting on like you could get good deals on lower end stuff. I would say even if you don't want to buy, they're a good follow just to see like what's going on. To me, I've always used Elite like as a litmus test for, oh, that book got posted. Oh, that seems like a really good price. Oh, it got gobbled up like within 3 seconds of it getting posted. That was definitely a really strong price. Or, oh, I thought that was a really good price, but no one's jumped on it yet. Like it does give you a little bit of a sense for what the market is. They have 50,000 followers. A lot of people have. I remember at one point in time when I was hunting for specific stuff, I had post notifications turned on for them. So I would get a notification of the phone as soon as they posted something. But they are a good market barometer. If you're just kind of curious how certain things are moving, when they post something that you're interested in and you think the price is good, look to see how quick someone jumps on that. It kind of tells you a lot about the current market of that book.
And like we were saying, like I was pointing out like some more expensive stuff, and usually the books that are posted on their page tend to be a little bit higher price point. but they have their live sales all the time. And I bought lots of stuff through their live sales that are basically typically it's other sellers that are selling through their platform, like utilizing their platform to sell. And there's all kinds of ranges of prices, like $5 books up to, like I said, like the $250,000 one, that was a live sale. so there's huge ranges that happen on those sales.
Yeah. I know you want to talk a little bit about this one. Just give me a little quick rundown of one of your favorite books here.
Oh, shoot. And this ties into video games. So in 1994, this video game came out for Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. And for the pre-orderers, the people that pre-ordered the game, this was actually shipped to them in an envelope. I own some of the envelopes. The envelopes are far more rare than the book itself. And so they are oftentimes really in poor shape because they were shipped to like video game buyers that may or may not have been collecting comic books back in the 90s. And so they were, just flipped through or whatever. It's like an intro to the Maximum Carnage series. You guys remember, like, it was a 14-part series that spanned the different Spider-Man titles in the mid-90s. And so this is like a really thin book. It's very delicate. It's awesome. The cover is it's a Bill Sienkiewicz cover. There might be some I don't know if there's a Bagley aspect to the cover. There might be, but it's said to be. It's known as a Bill Sienkiewicz cover. The interior is done by Bagley. Super difficult and high grade. Awesome book. There were some copies though that were not mailed out. That were actually distributed at certain stores that didn't have to, actually be mailed in an envelope and take all that damage. So you can find some really high-grade copies that were just given out at stores, but generally they were shipped out to people in this dope envelope where the book just sat in flat and was put into the mail. So it was folded in people's mailboxes and stuff. So it is a partnership with Acclaim because that's who released the video game. And that's what makes it so sick. It's got a video game tie-in. It's a rare comic book. It's Carnage, Venom, Spidey. It's Sienkiewicz and Bagley. It's my favorite era of nostalgia. Absolutely love this book.
That one, I always crack up for that because it looks like clip art. It's like
yeah, right. It does actually though. It does. It does. Like where are these guys jumping from? The Spidey and Venom. I think there might still only be 3 9/8 signed. There's more 9/8 blue label. There might only be 3 or 4 still signed, and I've owned 2 of them, but one of them I had submitted to a Sienkiewicz signing. It came back a 9/6, but I disagreed with the grade, and I later submitted it again to CGC. Got the 9/8 on it, but it's the most beautiful signature. The way Sienkiewicz signed it in this bold white, it looked like Venom and Spidey were surfing the signature, and I sold it for a big premium because of how rare it was and the look of it, but I missed that book dearly. And it was just playful because it looked like it finally gave those 2 characters a place to stand because they're just kind of floating.
Absolutely. Well, I want to say thanks again to Elite Comics11 for being an Ungraded Truth sponsor tonight and many more episodes to come. Once again, guys, Elite Comics11, the most trusted community-powered comic and collectibles consignment page on social media. Make sure to go give them a follow. I put the link in the chat. Right now they have 48.9 thousand followers. I can't do math. They're almost at 50,000 followers. I feel like we could collectively get them there. Let's be part of their 50K journey. But check them out. Follow them over on Instagram and tell them the Ungraded Truth sent you.
Please, please
DM
them and let them know. Yeah,
let them know. Check out what they got. Make us look good. Wingman for us. And we'll talk a little bit more about their expo coming up later in the year. But with that out of the way, we got to get into our next topic, which is going to be about bricks and minifigs, the story that keeps on giving. I mean, we talked about the initial stuff that came out the prior show and just the first 2 episodes. Since then, there has been so much that has come out, most notably the CoffeeZilla breakdown of the entire situation, where he did a deep dive investigation, as he always does, where he talked to the CEO of Bricks and Minifigs, he talked to the previous owners, and he really went in to sort of find out, like, what actually happened to the Legos? Like, where has the value of this collection actually gone? And he did a deep dive. We're not going to break down his entire video. I mean, you guys should just go watch his video in order to get the full story. But I bring it up to sort of catch you guys up to speed as we dive into the story. It's looking like there's a lot of foul play going on with multiple parties, but mostly on the Bricks and Minifigs. I mean, they seem like they have dug themselves into a corner. And for doing that, they are kind of trying to put the, the gag order on Reckless Ben, where they filed a lawsuit against him where he has a temporary restraining order and was not actually able to post his third video, which was due to come out, in the time since we did our last episode. Kind of where we stand, it's looking like, it's in legal land. There's an update that apparently the previous owners of the Brixie Minifig location are now putting in their own lawsuit. And, I can't speak the legalese, but from other content creator, YouTube lawyers who have broke it down, they say that lawsuit could unlock Reckless Ben's ability to talk about Bricks and Minifigs. So maybe we will be able to one day see his third video episode. But guys, I want to kick it over to you before we kind of talk a little bit, a different aspect to the storyline. But did you get a chance to watch the new content that came out? Did you get a chance to watch CoffeeZilla's video? And what did you think about the story as it stands now?
Yeah. I mean, I've watched all of it. I watched his full video and everything. I'll say one of the impressive things about CoffeeZilla is how open people seem to be with him. They're just like, give him whatever he wants. Like it's crazy. Like he's going through, or not necessarily him. It sounded like he said he hired people to evaluate all of the, all the numbers and everything. But like, I mean, all the financials for this, all the receipts and everything from the store. I mean, and he really did narrow it down to only finding about, what was it, like 15 or 20,000 in the actual Star Wars pieces or sets that was missing, that couldn't be accounted for. Now, the other side of it was that the original owner, Brian, it sounded like he's still missing about like 80 grand in payout. Like he is way behind on what he should have been receiving. They've roughly estimated that this collection, like from what CoffeeZilla said, is actually probably worth about 107,000. He had a range, I think, of like 85 to 120, somewhere in there. But
that was before you go out, just from a collectible standpoint, I thought that was one of the interesting things, because even when I initially watched the story and they were like, "Oh, his collection worth $200,000," I, in the back of my mind, was always like, "Is that the real liquid value of these collections?" Because as we all know, like a value of a certain collectible is only the value until that sale is realized, and so you don't actually know. And some people kind of hype things up, and it's like, at auction, what is the real floor price? But it was not surprising to me that the $200,000 evaluation was really more like $100,000. But sorry, Ryan, go ahead. I digress.
Yeah, but I mean, I definitely recommend watching that. It is on the longer side, if I remember correct. It's been maybe a week or so, or maybe even 2 weeks now since I watched that. But it's a little longer. But I do recommend watching it, especially if you've been following the Bricks and Minifigs story. But I mean, the interesting thing was that, yes, it does look like there's definitely some issues on the Bricks and Minifigs corporate side. Like they kept changing their numbers for what was missing and the valuations, basically to meet the needs of their with the story they were trying to tell at that time. And that really made it so it's like it's hard to trust anything that's coming from them. But you also have the original store owners who, while I don't really think they did anything wrong from what I can tell, other than being kind of crappy at business. Like it seemed like they kept very, very poor books, and, just like not really good records of sales, like things that sold that were his that didn't end up paying out to him. And I don't think it was anything nefarious. It's just, they just weren't tracking it well. And so that resulted in problems. And it was just, it was a lot of mistakes everywhere. I will say, like, people are still giving it a lot of coverage, even though he can't talk about it. And that was one of the things I've been thinking about. Was I was just like, I wonder how much revenue has been generated on YouTube from this story alone. I wonder if it's gotten close to $1 million. I bet it has, because like when you've got Reckless Ben's channel, he's getting 3 or 4 million views. Like those are like $30,000 to $40,000 videos. Then you've got like that Penguins, I can't remember his exactly, like his, but then all the legal channels and everything that get hundreds of thousands, if not hitting million views. And like, they're just doing video after video after video, because everybody wants to watch them. They're like, if you put out a video on it and you're in that space, they're like instant 200 to 500,000 view videos. Every one of those is $2,000 to $5,000. And I'm just like wondering like how much money is being generated from this story alone on YouTube. I think it's pretty interesting.
The other rated aspect of that too is those aren't 10-minute long videos. Like most of them are like an hour long, and you earn way more.
Yeah, the legal ones are
off
really
of a longer video than you do most of the stuff that we do is 8 to 15 minutes, give or take. Like some of those things are like 60 minutes.
Yeah.
And people are locked in for the full 60 minutes. So
Yeah.
you have mid-roll ads running, you're crushing it.
Yeah. What did you guys think about the story, Rob or Minuji? I don't know if you guys had a chance to catch up on it, but did you have thoughts?
I haven't seen the CoffeeZilla one yet. I haven't had a chance to watch that one. I watched the one that you sent us earlier today. But yeah, the whole thing is just absolutely craziness. It does feel like it's probably starting to wind down a little bit. People's attention spans are only so long.
Well, I do think that not having Reckless Ben being able to post videos has had the effect they've wanted it to have to some extent. Like that has, I think, slowed it down because everybody was using his content to create more content.
Right.
And so they're kind of like running out of things to leverage to make that additional content.
The only problem with that, though, is that you kind of give it a little bit of a longer tail because that they had to know that that probably wasn't going to be a permanent fix, that eventually he was going to be able to talk about it again. And now they've kind of delayed that. So like they get this little, like they got hit with it out of the gate and they continue to get hit with it. And now things have still coming out, but like are starting to slow down a little bit. And now he's going to put out this part 3 and it's going to just send it right back to the moon again. And you're going to start recycling all that content. Like you're almost starting the cycle over again by delaying the part 3. They almost would have been better off for part 3 to come out 2 weeks ago or like a week ago. And by now we kind of probably be in the same place where it's like, oh, okay, like everyone's done the reaction content, everyone's farmed it. And now, you know, okay, on to the next thing, basically. Whereas we've seen now the hype is building for this part 3 and now we get this tease that maybe it comes. Like that'll probably be the most viewed of the 3.
Well, and I was to say, we've seen that it feels like the corporate side has made the wrong decision like every step of the way. So it's not really a surprise that maybe that wasn't the best call.
I mean, whether they have like, even if they were in the right on everything, just the way that they have PR bungled this whole thing, like I don't think that there is a single thing that they could do tomorrow and like magic wand this and just be like, guys, we gave $1 million to puppies. Like we're the best company ever. People would still hate their gut. Like I don't think there's literally a single thing that they could do. They could be like, we donated every Lego in the world to like, you know, kids in hospitals. Like no one would care. People would still hate them. Like they're so buried. And it does kind of like I'm sure
going to be stuck in people's heads forever. Like they're just like
for sure. And I'm sure there's like some franchise owners that are doing things correctly. I'm sure there's probably some super scummy ones that, you know, we might talk about in a minute, but you know, it does suck for the people that are kind of caught in the crossfire. Like some people got into this and they did not sign up for this. And now all of a sudden, if you're just like a random franchise owner in like, I don't know, Ohio, and you're all of a sudden you're getting strays left and right when maybe you're doing everything relatively correctly. And it's like, this is not what I got in this business for.
Well, there was like that one in California where I think they said that like they were getting all these threats. And so they're actually closing down for like a week to try to hope stuff dies down a little bit before they open back up. But I mean, I've had this stance that, I mean, yeah, it sucks for them, but there's no way I'd ever go into any bricks and minifigs. Like if like, because a percentage of their sales goes to the corporate entity that's been doing all the bad stuff. So it's like,
well, Ryan, interesting about that. So I think that they did an announcement where they are freezing any payments that go to corporate at this moment in order to help out the individual mom and pops that own those things, but nobody cares until like what you guys are saying. It's like their brand is so ruined at this point. Like, I don't think we've ever seen anything like this. Like we always make jokes about who's the hobby villain, you know, a little inside baseball for you guys watching. Like we always joke like, it's, you know, eBay is the hobby villain now, or like, you know, there's always some entity that's like the new hobby villain. Logan Paul's the hobby villain. Bricks and Minifigs is not only the hobby villain, they are like the hobby supervillain. They are the end game. They are the Thanos of collectibles. Like it's pretty crazy how much they run this brand. And I feel like, Rob, you're right to the sense that maybe momentum has tapered a little bit, but I feel like whether it's a week from now or a month from now, I feel like if Reckless Ben puts out part 3, like this thing, it's like kerosene fire again. Like people will go crazy. Like, because I think people really want to get some result out of this, or they want to find out more. Yeah. And I do think that this is a story that, yes, it's tapered because people can't comment on new information, but I think it has legs. I think it's so interesting. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this other aspect to it. But Manu, let me let you in. If you just had any other thoughts on the CoffeeZilla, if you caught it, or just some of the other information that's come out since.
I'm not fully caught up, but I did start watching the CoffeeZilla. I didn't finish it, and I want to. I want to be brought totally up to speed. But the same thing you brought up was very interesting to me when he did the analysis on the actual value, or he was like comparing the pictures and counting how much money's worth of stuff and what was on the spreadsheets. And he was like, this is not $200,000 worth of stuff. Why are we using this figure? And that's the first time I actually even stopped and thought about it. I was like, wait a second. Oh yeah, why did we just agree that it's $200,000? And even Reckless Ben, like he was like, well, that's what they told me, Like,
well, I mean, it was the original store owner. That's what they used as their promotional announcement. They're like, it's a $200,000 of Star Wars, this collection. Like that's where it originally came from.
Right. And then, I got to watch the rest of the CoffeeZilla because there was some stuff in there that even started to fall apart for the original store owner, right? Where she was like, well, we did say we were going to keep them off site, but they were there the day the store got taken over because we moved them off site just to not get robbed. But when the collection was made available for sale, we did bring them back in, but we didn't tell anybody. And so that kind of put a couple of holes in her story. So I need to watch the whole thing to see where all the chips land. But we're not done with the chips landing yet because we got to wait for part 3. Whatever happened with the crowdfunded money?
It's back. They did take it down, but then they brought it back up. They had to remove references to bricks and minifigs. I think they took the name out of the actual like description that was in there. It's this whole thing where he's like not allowed to say their name basically. And so like there's all this stuff that's had to be done. But yes, they did bring it back up.
And that money, like that roughly 300,000 or something.
Oh, it's almost 500,000 now. It might be over 500 now.
Amazing.
I don't know. I haven't looked in.
And that is going to the original family whose collection was first consigned.
My understanding is what Ben said is it's going to be put into some kind of trust, and it's going to be used to pay him and cover his lawyer fees because Bricks and Minifigs is suing Brian, the guy that had his collection stolen, for $1.3 million. He's a
$1 million.
He's a co-defendant with Ben.
I didn't know that.
Like it's just that's this whole thing where it's just like they are making all the wrong decisions. Suing the guy who is the sob story in this whole thing.
Wow, man.
Like talk about the bad optics. And it's funny because the CEO who was interviewed with CoffeeZilla, like it's just like read the room. Like he keeps saying like understandably his point was like hey, whatever you think about the situation, like please leave the mom and pop Bricks and Minifigs alone, because obviously people have been harassing the stores or like doing all these things, and these are individual business owners that have nothing to do with it. And he was like giving this impassioned speech about like these are good people and you guys are doing all these bad things to them, but it's like, bro, you're the one that made this happen. Like you're the one that's countersuing them for $1 million. It's just bad optics, like overall. And I don't know. It's completely ruined the brand. And I think it's funny because the algorithm be doing some things. As soon as this video went crazy.
Before we get into that, I want to comment on one thing, because you were mentioning the algorithm. I thought that this was hilarious because I'm curious since you've been watching a lot of this content too, if you've seen this. I have been getting fed so many Bricks and Minifigs ads on YouTube. And it cracks me up. It cracks me up. It's like it's on videos where they're criticizing them, and it's like, come go to Bricks and Minifigs. And I'm like, oh my god,
we gotta call time.
What is this?
You don't pay for YouTube Premium?
No, I do not pay for YouTube.
Oh,
I pay for.
What are you doing? How are you living your life?
Oh, that's why you pay for premium. You're not going to see them. But I am getting the Bricks and Minifigs.
You're a madman.
Now that we're talking about this, I want to take a second here too. Sorry, Swag, but listen, I don't pay for YouTube Premium either. But YouTube is killing me because now, bro, it's not just an ad anymore. Now when the ad goes away, that stupid floating thing is up there, and you got to hit dismiss on that.
It is that I hate the floating thing on the phone. I really hate that.
I hate
12 bucks, whatever it is, 10, 15 bucks a month. You never have to see it again. It's great.
No,
you are right. YouTube Premium is what's up. And also, man, YouTube really jacked up the amount of ads that play recently. Dude. Like sometimes I get the comments where
they changed the back end for us. That's why.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but like sometimes we, and I'm sure you guys get it too. Like you get the comments where it's like, oh, Swag, you put too many ads on this thing. It's like, bro, I just hit ads on, and then like if you look like on a live stream, literally YouTube will put like ads like like
Oh, yeah,
across the
it's
timeline, it'll be like
every
1,000 ads. It's like, it's insane. It's like, I didn't put that in. It's like they did with their algorithm. It's crazy.
At
Yeah,
one
before they
time,
used to let us, like, we had, I mean, we still can control it to a degree, but they
Yeah.
override us basically. And if you don't give them the option to override, it kind of fucks you over.
Well, that's
to a
the
degree.
frustrating
They changed
thing
that
is
like
they put in
I
those
don't know,
auto
six
ads, and if
months
you
ago, I
remove
think.
one, it's like, oh, you don't want any of our ads?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, hold on a second, we have to review this for 24 hours to see if
Oh,
we
God.
like your ad placement
Okay.
or not.
Ryan, I have said I hate subscription services. I'm super cheap. I'm notoriously cheap. Like I have friends' passwords for certain things that I
I'm
use.
not. I pay for a ton of subscriptions, and I
I
think that's
don't.
part of the problem is that I pay for so many. I'm just like, oh my God, I don't want to pay for it. Not like I've got HBO, Apple TV, Crunchyroll, Amazon Prime. We've got, I don't know, we've got some other ones.
So you don't want to just add another
We've got
15
we've
bucks
got
to it then if you're already doing it?
Netflix. You know, I mean, I think I have like 5 or 6 different things I'm paying for right now, and I'm just like, I don't want to pay for YouTube too.
What's
I
but
might
what's
do
funny
it.
about that
It's
is like I
totally-
genuinely what's funny about that is I genuinely watch YouTube like 10 times more than Netflix. So it's like, why do I even pay for Netflix? Like I should pay for YouTube Premium. Not a sponsor of the show, but
No.
YouTube Premium. So what's up? But
Yeah.
let's
Okay.
kind of transition over. Speaking of the algorithm stuff, I thought it was really funny because as soon as this bricks and minifigs story popped off, a video from months before the Reckless Ben video came out, I think got caught up in the algorithm, and it was actually done by this person here, known as MGS Brick, who I think is a Lego content creator to some degree, and he made a video called "I Exposed Bricks and Minifigs" with a $1,000 minifigure. You can see that this video has 1.2 million views. I promise you, 2 months ago, this was not at 1.2 million views. This thing got absolutely just catapulted into the algorithm. But a very interesting experiment that I thought, we can kind of tie back into a collectible conversation. Basically, he had the idea of like, oh, what if I brought a bunch of Legos into my local bricks and minifigs and kind of played it off like I didn't know anything about the collection, and just said like, hey, do you guys buy? Would you guys want to buy these Legos? And he took it to 4 different stores, and I'll just kind of quickly skip ahead, although I do recommend you guys watch the video. Suffice to say, the offers that he got from the stores were not great. I'll just play a little bit here. He went to 4 stores, offer 18% of the value of the collection at one of them, 6% at the value of the collection of another, 19% at one, and then 10% at another. Now, it's a little bit of like I don't know if you can take it truly fully at face value. Some of the people in their conversation with him were sort of saying like, hey man, like, well, they're trying to be transparent. They're like, listen, we're reselling, we're not going to be able to pay retail, this is all we can offer you. And he had some Legos that were akin to having like a Mark Jeweler newsstand, to where maybe some of the employees were like, didn't recognize why this one was the crazy value. But anyways, I kind of wanted to bring this video up because I thought it would kind of go more into our wheelhouse that is related to the story of like, selling your collections and getting fair market value, or like bring it to a comic book store and having them buy stuff. These stores were offering him less than 20% of value. Were you guys appalled by that? Is it sort of like, yeah, well, then just take it somewhere else. This is why you got to sell it yourself. Like, what did you guys think about this one here? And Manu, you can kind of chime in. I see you with
Okay,
the
I'm
finger.
sorry. No, I appreciate it. Sorry. Let's not forget one of the stores stole the most valuable figure. Just
Well,
conveniently
well,
stole
right,
it.
you're right.
let's
No,
not-
he stole it. No, we'll
let's
talk
not
about
get
it.
in
Well,
trouble
no, listen, no.
Let's not
I'll
get-
say it.
We've
He stole
we've
it.
seen that there have been a lot of
He-
legal things.
He
Yeah.
stole it. He
Yeah,
stole it.
calm
Out
down,
of
buddy.
all of them, no,
Allegedly,
The
allegedly.
99 newsstand
no,
said
I
that,
said
not-
it. Out of
This guy
all,
right here.
I said it. Out of all of those figures, the one gold, shiny gold $1,000 one is the one that he randomly left in the drawer. The guy comes back in and says, "Dude, I think was there a gold one?" He looks right where. Oh yeah, my bad. Oh, plus I think it's fake. And he tries to cushion the fact that he stole it by lightening the blow by saying it's fake anyway. Right. And the bigger part of this is not the fact that they offered 6%, 18%, is that they all downplayed knowing the value of some of them. Listen, some people might not have known, but there was a lot of this going on where the guy that brought the items, and what's interesting about this video being recirculated into the algorithm, I think there's an independent video alone of just taking just going to one store, because now I remember months ago I watched it with that $1,000 Lego. I know nothing about Legos, but I remember watching a video just about one store where he brought in a box of Legos, And the guy was like, this one's interesting. I don't know if it's real. I can't get the legs off, but apparently it's known in the community that the way that it's chromed kind of seals it so the legs don't come off. So you can't do these authenticity checks that people do on these Legos. And he was pointing out the reasons why he didn't believe they might be real, showing comparisons on the internet to things that weren't the same one, and then offered him like $50 for everything, which was like $700 worth of Legos, and then said, I'll give you another 50. I'll take a flyer on this one. It might be fake. But I have a feeling that he knew it wasn't fake. He's trying to buy a $1,000 piece for $50. So yes, they offered low, but there was a lot of playing dumb because the individual that brought the collection in led with, fishing for this sort of response from people to see who's a liar and who's a, immoral or whatever, led with, I don't really know nothing about Legos. I found this underneath the bed. Will you give me some money for it? Giving these people the opportunity to be unethical, thinking that they had a chance to steal comics from, steal the Legos from someone that doesn't know, and set them up. And a lot of them, it seems like, fell right into the trap. Now, the guy says this does not represent all Bricks and Minifigs locations, but Bricks and Minifigs locations aren't governed by some, they're just people that own franchises. And if they're unethical and dishonest, they're going to try to take advantage. And I know how we're going to connect this conversation into going into a local LCS and so on and so forth. And I want to hear all of that because I agree. But one store definitely stole the most valuable thing and hope no one noticed. And
allegedly.
I mean, yeah.
what
This guy.
Rob. Well, okay, Rob. What do you think, or in response to Manu here, or the whole thing?
I think the interesting experiment would be to repeat this in other collectible categories. Do you, if someone had like a couple beat up or like decently shaped raw keys, walk them around a Comic-Con and record, on the down low, record the interactions that you get with various dealers on like how they kind of pitch it to you, like how straight up are they with you. And you'd have to kind of have something a little bit obscure, maybe. Like you couldn't just walk in with like an ASM 300. I guess you could play super dumb about it, but maybe you have something that's like a little bit niche, or like maybe you have like a Mark Jewelers raw that like you don't even really, you just play like you don't, hey, I found these under the thing. Like these were my uncle's or whatever. He handed them down to us. So you're playing like you wouldn't even know what a Mark Jewelers is or what a newsstand is or something like that, and walk it around a Comic-Con and see what sort of, do you think you would get a similar reaction? Do you think you would get similar values if you repeated this experiment at a Comic-Con?
I think we should do it. Someone in the chat said we should do it.
The tough, like for me, like the tough part with these is that I feel like I'm pretty knowledgeable on comics. Like I know a fair amount about a lot of different eras of comics, but there are definitely like some of those very specific things that I might not be aware of. Like I know that there are certain Whitman variants that are worth like hundreds or thousands of dollars, but I could not tell you which ones they are. And with what he was bringing in, it was like, oh, this is a variant of Bane, that has like a little different like drawing on him versus this other one, and I'm just like, how much do I really expect that store owner to be able to recognize that? And how much, like, but I guess the question is how much work, and this is where I don't know enough about Bricks and Minifigs, like what level of effort they're supposed to put in when they are evaluating, because if they are supposed to like look at every single piece, do it like some type of image capture or something that doesn't compare, if they're supposed to do all that, then they should catch all that stuff. But if you're supposed to be like going through quick, like for any of us that have bought a collection, like if you're going through stuff quick, like you're trying to get a rough idea of valuation, and I'm not checking to see that there's like a Mark Jewelers in this one random book. I'm not opening every book and opening everything to look at it all. And so that's definitely where it gets a little tricky. But like I think the challenge with this video specifically is that Bricks and Minifigs says they pay 40 to 50%. Like on their site, they say they pay 40 to 50%. It's not like they don't give a promise and like then it's just like, you get what you get. Like there's no LCS that's coming out and being like, oh, we paid this. Like they're gonna just like evaluate and they're gonna throw a number at you. But Bricks and Minifigs says 40 to 50%, and none of those got even close to that number. And so I think that's the bigger sticking point to me with Bricks and Minifigs, is that there's an expectation that they are actually going to be giving you that value. And even when he led them you know, to get a couple of those. It's like, he's like, oh, are you sure this isn't the variant? You know, like, and they're like, oh, it is. And then they're like, oh, this one is too. And I think they actually didn't realize that they were. And so, but then they're like, and we'll give you this amount, which still wasn't 40 to 50%. It was, they're like, it's worth $300. We'll give you $100 in trade. You know, it's like, that's not even close, you know? And so I think that's the problem I saw with it, was that they were not following the guidelines that they say they are supposed to follow.
Yeah, it's interesting. I did not know that those were the guidelines. And yeah, maybe having a control group in this experiment would have been good. Like if he went to a hobby store that wasn't bricks and minifigs and just saw what they offered, that would be kind of an interesting thing. Because, you know, when I saw this video, it was sort of like, yeah, it doesn't necessarily surprise me that LCSs would lowball and stuff, or LGS, I guess, in this instance. It's also another thing too, where sometimes at these comic book shops, and maybe you guys have had this experience, like I kind of feel like I know more than like 99% of the employees there. Like sometimes the employees are just employees, like they don't know all these things. Like, and so I'm not sure that all the people that were consulting with him are like the main store owner or like the main buyer. And it kind of gets into that like weird territory of like, are they responsible to be like a guru? Like, you know what I mean? Like, can you really expect, you know, this kind of gets into the conversation when there's like whatnot sellers that might say, hey, this book is worth $100, but they might genuinely think that. And like, you know, it's like, do you expect them to always have all the answers? And like, what onus is on you to have that information? But at the same time, I don't like bricks and minifigs, so you know they're all scammers. So
I mean, sorry, go ahead.
No, please. I wrote a note.
I was just gonna say, like one example. There's a book I talked about recently in a video. It's like Amazing Spider-Man 184, which is I think the all detergent variant, and it's like it's a book like that. That in high grade, that book is worth thousands of dollars, whereas an Amazing Spider-Man 184 in high grade is worth like $50. And so, like, it's being able to spot that one specific thing. And you, like, I bet you 90% of comic collectors don't know what that book is and don't know how to spot it, you know? And so it's like, it's stuff like that where it's like, yeah, I mean, you have some expectations when somebody's like a dealer or whatever, but I think even one of the people he was talking to is like, there are so many variants of these things out there, like expecting somebody to have like all like 100,000 to, and I know there's some comic collectors that do, but like expecting somebody to have like all of that in your head is a big reach.
I think you're right about that. And I think, you know, with all the variants in different things in collectibles, right? That's why it's nice to go to someone that has a focus on their particular niche or is an expert in one thing, and you can kind of get guidance from them. Because yeah, who's going to know everything about everything, right? But back to piggyback off of what Swag said, like, do we expect an employee at a store to know everything about everything? No. But I think the larger point is, and this is unfortunate to say, it's more just about human behavior or whatever, different sorts of characters out there, is never go somewhere and expect. Here's the thing. You just can't trust people. That's what it boils down to. If you have something and you want to know what's it worth and you think someone's going to pay you fairly for it, you already screwed up. Like, that was already the mistake. Like, you had faith in human beings. Yes, there are good people out there that are going to do the right thing. They're going to do right by you. And Ryan, you and I, we can tell the story about Mark Jewelers. Will, that I bought a lot of those Mark Jewelers from, you had a conversation with him as well. He wanted to sell his longtime childhood collection of Mark Jewelers from a military base that his father used to be at in Europe, and he used to be there as well. And he had all these high-grade Mark Jewelers, and he went to a comic book store in Florida. Ryan, I don't remember the store's name. If you remember, we could shout them out.
I don't know offhand. No, sorry.
No, it's all right. There's you got a video about it. There's a post on my Instagram about it. It talks about it. But Will took his entire collection to the shop, and that shop owner said, you know, these are all Mark Jewelers, and these are worth way more than the equivalent book, not Mark Jewelers. You should not sell these raw, not to me, not to anyone. You should pick out the high grade ones. I'll help you find someone to press them. You should press them, and you should maximize your value. And that's what he did. That is someone stepping into the right shop and having someone that had the decency to tell you that. But to expect that or to trust that you're going to randomly stumble into that scenario, you make the mistake, right? Like the guy that made this video was fishing for this outcome. That's why he set it up that way. But unfortunately in life, people do take their box of collectibles somewhere and hope someone's going to tell them the truth. I don't know if it's 9 out of 10 times, but majority of the time, the person on the other side of the table is going to realize if you don't know, and they're going to start, lighting up with opportunity about how little they can pay and how much they can make. The mistake, the onus is on the person that owns the stuff to know about the stuff. Not everyone knows, not everyone's going to put in the time to research, but if you're not going to do that, you're giving up your edge and you're opening yourself up to be stolen from. And that's the actual moral of the story. Not can you trust a bricks and minifigs employee, it's why do you think you can walk into something in this world and get treated fairly or honestly? That's not how the world works.
I think an interesting side takeaway here is, if you have whatever you have, whether it's minifigs, comics, cards, whatever, you really, I think this kind of leads into the importance of documenting what you have. Because at some point in time, it's probably going to end up in someone's hands in your family that doesn't know what it is.
Yeah. Yes.
If you don't, and maybe your plan is to move off of it before it gets to that point. But listen, sometimes life gets in the way, and that doesn't happen. And it's if your significant other, your kids, your nieces, whatever it is that you have, where your stuff potentially is going to end up. I think it's important to make sure that you have something laid out that kind of explains, like, hey man, these sealed cardboard boxes that I have stop tape on them for a reason. You don't just want to cut those open. Or
let's see what's in this box.
Yeah, I have this rare thing that's super obscure, like FYI, this is what this is, or whatever the case might be. In cards, comics, and some of the other categories, that's where grading becomes a little bit more important, to have your collection graded, because it makes it cleaner. Maybe not for you, maybe you know what it is, but it makes it easier for whoever's hands it ends up in to know that, oh, this Spider-Man ASM 300 is a 99 or a newsstand rather, because the barcode's on there, where a raw copy of that book ends up in your niece's hands. They might not have any idea what the hell that means. To Manu's point about the Mark Jewelers, same thing. If you have those raw laying around, and they end up in your kids' hands or your grandkids' hands or your wife's hands, and they're trying to figure out what the hell this is, it does make their life a lot easier on that stuff to some degree, to know what it is. But if you don't want to do that, at least have some sort of plan, whether it's 2026. You can record a video super easily on your phone and just save it to your hard drive, or just put it somewhere to just document, like, hey, I have these things. This is why these are important. Don't just throw these out at the garage sale.
Rob, what are you talking about? Okay. Comics are meant to be read, not entombed. Mark Jewelers are meant to be ordered from when you need diamonds. Everybody knows this.
Tear them out. They shouldn't even be.
Tear them out. Tear them out, guys. Well, shout out once again to MGS Brick. He made a good video. If you guys want to go check it out, it's a really interesting watch, and I think it brings up a lot of interesting conversations with consignments. But yes, to your point, I mean, call us the double shill, but
the interesting thing though, he had a follow-up. He had a follow-up to that, where Bricks and Minifigs reached out to him, and he read all the legalese that was sent to him, which were basically threats. About
they were nice threats though.
They were nice threats. Yeah,
but it was, oh, we'd like for you to interview everyone, and it would be really nice if you shouldn't mention this ever again.
Because I guess he just had graduated high school, and I think he's in maybe college now. And when this whole thing came out, I guess he posted a short, and he was like, "Oh, Reckless Ben, we should do a collaboration, and it's gonna be peak." That. They did not like that at all. They reached out to him. They're like, "We saw your thing where you said you would make peak content with Reckless Ben. We highly suggest you not do this, or you are going to potentially become a person in this lawsuit. We currently are not focused on you, but we could be, And it's like all these like little not even veiled threats, And you're just like, oh God, like these guys are just going after everybody now.
So, it was smart of that kid to just back off of that.
Oh yeah, he did.
You just graduated from high school. You don't need that kind of smoke.
Yeah.
Well, everyone that goes and watches the video, let us know if that last shop stole that gold thing or if that was an honest mistake. I want your opinion.
Ah, man.
Only one person on the
Definitely.
panel said the S word in regard to that gold minifig. I just want that on the record.
Allegedly.
Allegedly actually does not protect you, having spoken to legal.
Listen, I'm watching all these YouTube lawyers. Okay, we're gonna make connections over here if we ever get into trouble, and that's the one good thing about the internet is that you can reach out to
Go
people.
Let's go on speed dial.
Yeah, exactly. Well, interesting bricks and minifigs story. That company seems to be very, very petty when it comes to people making content, much like friend of the channel, Rob Liefeld, who also kind of brought a little bit of a controversy into automatic comic space here. But check out this story, guys. So Rob Liefeld, who obviously famously legendary creator, created Deadpool, worked on New Mutants for years, who's been making a podcast and a lot of great content, did a reaction video to Mark Waid, another legendary comic creator who was on a comic podcast, talking about, how the people that say that comic books today or comic books 20 years ago are worse than comic books today, are dinosaurs, and they don't know what they're talking about, and these people are fools, and basically implying that comic books are much better today. And Rob Liefeld said that was the stupidest take he's ever heard in his life. You don't know shit right there. Mark Waid, this is a horrible take. Don't get fooled by this crap. Top tier classic runs endure for a reason. They are to be admired and studied in the hopes of generating works that aspire to match or exceed them. Ryan was having a little bit of fun with Rob Liefeld's impassioned speech right here and just posted the classic Simpsons meme of the old man yelling at the cloud. And Ryan, apparently I have reached the badge of honor of being blocked by Rob Liefeld. Definitely has the thinnest skin in the game. Ryan, were you shocked? Welcome to the club, I guess.
I was not shocked. I've heard it is fairly easy to get this honor of being blocked by Rob Liefeld. I mean, because he's in a bunch of Facebook groups too, and apparently he's if anybody says anything that is even remotely viewed as criticism, he is immediately blocks. But I just thought it was funny because Mark Waid, I think he actually quoted the Shake Kane. He said Shake Kane at cloud, old man at cloud. And so I was like, that's pretty funny. I'll use the Abe Simpson one. And so I saw that, I posted it to you guys and I was like, I'm going to be blocked probably from this. And then literally within, it was minutes, a half hour at most. I was like, I can't see that post anymore. I was like, I've been blocked. So oh God, it's funny. Cause there's another YouTuber, Longbox Love Affair. I mentioned him in the comments too. He had gotten, I think it was either a remark or something from Rob Liefeld, and it wasn't good. And he had reached out to see if there's something that could be done about it. And Rob Liefeld just blocked him. Wow. It's just it's so easy to get blocked by him. It's I don't know. He is very sensitive, it seems, to any type of perceived criticism. But when you draw Captain America the way you do, I guess comes with the territory.
Yeah. Well,
so
maybe we'll have Rob Liefeld on the channel at some point, to make
so I understand this correctly. His take is basically the old shit's better than the new shit, right? Because I didn't have a chance to watch this.
Yeah, that is correct. So Mark Waid is saying that, nowadays people keep complaining that new comic books are terrible, but actually there's a lot of them that are good. And, a lot of the old stuff sucked. And Rob Liefeld, obviously very impassioned about that, saying that new comic books are trash and the old ones are classics.
I mean, I keep rereading the same X-Men and Spider-Man runs my entire life for a reason, I guess. So maybe I'm on Team Rob here.
Yeah, we might be on Team Rob, but I don't know. When you got new creations this, ASM 1000 by John Romita Jr., it's kind of a funny thing. Is this mean that old comic books by John Romita Jr. were actually bad because this is his artwork, or is this him being cursed by new comic books? Transitioning the story a little bit here to the ASM 1000. We never really talked about this, but I kind of wanted to get your guys' takes. I know you guys are not super into new comics and stuff, but I feel like this is something we should talk about.
It must have been in chat. For some reason I thought we talked about this, but yeah, it's it is it's not great.
Flagged for us to talk about, but we didn't get to it on the last show.
It's not great. It doesn't feel like it's good enough for the 1000th issue. It's not what I don't know what I would want, but it's not that.
don't you just look at that and see him saying the "I don't know" thing? Like that's all it looks like. Like how do you not look at that and just see "I don't know"? Like what is that?
Everybody's been saying that. Yeah.
How didn't they 90s holograph this shit out of this issue? Like, what are we even doing? Like, we used to really do stuff in this country.
I know. It's
like
crazy.
I want to see some of the die cut stuff, like the Wolverine claws, you know, from back in the 90s. Like I want to see some stuff like that.
I want some
This is a
holographic
Bermuda
spider
Junior
web.
cover?
Like,
yeah, it's JR.
Well, I mean,
JR.
I want like
I
the
don't
X, I
wanna
want the
say nothing
X-Men
bad about
300
this.
cover, but the Spider-Man version of that.
I agree. I mean, so anyways, to kind of recap the story, maybe you guys saw I did some video content about this. This was the ASM 1000 cover when this was initially released by JR. I mean, obviously the internet just went all over. Like they just trashed this thing, and obviously it's for good reason. It's not his best work. To where Marvel announced more recently, I think they heard the feedback that they're going to be doing a cover A. Obviously, this being issue number 1000. Landmark issue, they're going to have like a billion variant covers.
They might have 1,000 variant covers for issue 1000.
Probably. But that one JR one was going to be the cover A. Now they're doing a co-cover A. This one by Pepe Larraz, who also incidentally has a variant. But this is also the one that came out. I mean, cool artwork for like a regular Spider-Man cover, but like I don't know, this doesn't feel 1000 worthy. I don't know how you guys feel about this.
I agree with you.
I feel like it's one of those things where it's like, you know it when you see it, and I haven't seen it yet. You know, like what I would expect for 1000 cover.
Yeah.
It's interesting stuff. I mean, I want to pull up this other post. So shout out to Key Collector Comics for making some of these carousels here. But let me see if I can actually find, a little thing that we might enjoy discussing.
And shout out Comic Tom. I see him.
Shout out to Comic Tom.
Yeah.
We're big fans of Comic Tom over here. I can't find it. Oh well, I was gonna pull up all the various Landmark covers to talk about them. But yeah, interesting stuff. I mean, the conversation of new comics versus old comics. We got great comics like Dr. Doom blind bags. That are obviously fun to always open up. But I don't know. I have a little bit of opinion on it. I just wanted to kind of get it out with what Rob is saying. I kind of understand the spirit of what he was saying. I understand the spirit of what Mark Waid was saying. But the truth is like there are a lot of really good new comic books. It's just that there's also a million new comic books, like more comic books than ever. So everything's kind of diluted and it's like harder to find really good stuff. And then also like all media has been diluted because of the internet. Like movies aren't as important as they used to be. TV shows are not as important.
I mean, like streaming is crazy. It's like trying to like there's so much stuff. And so it's like I feel like you end up like you start trying things and you're like if it's not good within an episode or two, you're just like bleh, like you move on because there's too much. Like for example, watch Widow's Bay. If you're out there and you're not watching that, it's on Apple TV. It's friggin' awesome. If you like horror, you're gonna like it. It's good. But yeah, like it's tough, like with the volume that you have to parse through today. Because there's good comics in every era. I think that's more the takeaway that it should be. It's like there's gonna be junk today, just like there was junk in the 90s and 80s and 70s. But there's also good stuff in all those too.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of good comics, there's always time to buy some good comics like you did, Rob. As you went to Heroes Con this past weekend. Shout out to Philip, otherwise known as Vintage Comics and Toys. I brought up his post because I thought it was kind of relevant maybe to our conversation here where he was, doing the Heroes Con thing. And he made a little video talking about how most of the comic book vendors are charging much fairer prices than last year. So he had a really good experience over at Heroes, feeling like comic books are back, or at least vendor pricing is back. I would say that, Rob, that's probably, at least from your experience, partially true because you ended up picking up some big boy books. I got it actually pulled up. I don't know if you want to go grab the one behind you, but
it's probably easier just to pull up my Instagram page that has the two images.
I got them right here for you. But
I will say on that video that you just had up, there's a Lego minifig table behind him when that video first starts, and those are by far and away the most popular tables at the Comic-Cons by a mile.
Wow.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Go right to the beginning of that video. I don't know if you could rewind.
Hold on.
If you gotta,
let's see.
Right there.
These ones right here.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you bought 6 for what is it? 6 for $20, and you just fill up a little Ziploc bag. I can't.
I thought Heroes was only comics.
Well, you know.
I thought that was the whole.
I thought it was like their whole thing. Yeah, it was only comics.
Wait, if
It's a
that's
majority
true,
of
this-
comics.
this is
So
the new
my
big
my
story.
my
This is
joke
the new
comment
big
to you
story.
before, I was like, oh, they should start selling Pokemon cards. Well, I guess they should. Because if they're
I
selling
bought
Legos.
One Piece cards there. I got great
Oh my
deals on One
God.
Piece cards.
All
There.
right.
Really? Wait a minute. This is hey,
I didn't know
breaking
that.
news, guys. This
I
is
didn't
a
know
real
that.
big aspect because let me set this up proper so we can have like an official clip.
I'll actually have a really funny comment from a dealer about this. I don't know where you're going with it, but I think I know where you're going with it. Go ahead.
Well, I'll tee you up. You know, for years, everybody has said that Heroes Con is the true comic book con in the country. You know, obviously New York Comic Con, San Diego Comic Con, they get the headlines, they get the fanfare. But if you love comics, you love buying, you got to go to Heroes Con because it's all comics, you know, all business, no cosplay, no other bells and whistles. That's where you go if you're a real comic book fan. Rob, you went there. Are you telling me that's no longer the case?
I mean, they have the highest percentage of dealer tables per square foot by far. Like, it's not even close. But I'll give you a perfect example. There might be 1, maybe 2 fully pop vendors in the building. Like, how many Comic Cons do you go to that there's only 1 or 2 pop vendors in the building of this size? The comment where I was going with that was I talked to this guy had basically half the setup was comic books and the other half was Pokemon and One Piece. And I bought some One Piece cards off of him. We were just kind of going back and forth. And I was like, oh, you brought a lot of Pokemon. And he's like, I got to be honest with you. I'm crushing it on the Pokemon side compared to the comic book side. He's like, I've sold so much more Pokemon. He's like, I'm killing it over here compared to the comic books that I brought. And he had like
This is
pretty
why
decent
Heroes
stuff.
shouldn't have let it in because it's just gonna keep going from there.
Slippery slope.
Yeah.
You know, shout out to Eggplant who says, you know, Heroes is 10% fluff, other cons are 80% fluff. But
Yes,
but this kind of is the point.
That's a very
though.
accurate comment.
But carry on, Rob, because this is kind of the point though. Like, you know, once you get the taste, then it's like what
I'd
happens
say it's
next
always
year?
been like that though. This is my 4th Heroes Con. I was not there last year, but I would say that 10 to 80 is probably, you know, a fairly accurate. Like, it's been like that for a while. It's never 100% pure, just all comic book vendors, but the percentage of comic book vendors is higher there than any, like, compared to like New York Comic Con. It's not even close. Like, especially when you're talking about the size of the building, like it's not even close. Remind me when we're at New York Comic Con, I'll take you past the Lego minifig booth. I think I have footage of it in my video of people stacked like 12 people deep, basically fighting to get to the Lego minifig table.
That is incredible.
Pricing. Pricing was better than I have seen. Like I said, I wasn't there last year, but like right after the COVID boom, I kind of talked about it with the X-Men 1. That was in 2024, I think, when I bought that book. And people were still pricing stuff COVID levels. That was not the case this time around. And I had a very narrow, you know, we'll talk about the AF-15 really quick. That was the main goal walking into this show. So the first thing that I did Friday morning was speed run the entire show floor to find every low grade one in the building that I could. So I had a good basis of like what was in the room to decide if I wanted to go after one or not. And I think you guys were I was in the group chat with you guys for a lot of this experience. Pretty much everyone that I saw sticker wise was about 10 to 15% over where it would be GPA wise, maybe even upwards of 20%. And you know, you could be critical of that, but at least that's like, I always go with, is your sticker price at least in the realm that I can negotiate off of? Or are you so far out in left field that it's not even worth my time? You know, like if an AF-15 in a 1/8 comps for 15K and you have it stickered for 22, like I'm not even going to waste our time talking about it because we're not even in the same place if you're that far off. If you're a couple of grand over, okay, like now we can have a conversation. And to give a little bit of backstory on the copy that you had up there that I purchased, that was stickered at 18 and I bought it for 15. So, right. and 15 to 16 is about, like, if you look at GPA on a 1.8, it's pretty much right between 15 and 16K, give or take. And obviously when you get to a low grade, the presentation can vary a lot. I talked about it in the vlog that I did. There was 3 1.8s in the room. All 3 were priced about the same, and the other 2 looked way worse than this one did.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think you landed a really nice 1.8.
looks
I mean,
great.
this is, yeah, congratulations. This is a big, awesome purchase.
yeah,
Yeah,
it is a
definitely
detached cover,
congrats.
but I think that actually helps the presentation on it, to be quite honest.
Well, and it's
Yeah,
like
'cause
there
it
was, there was
probably
that
would've
other one
graded
we
higher.
talked about too that looked nice, and it was almost a split spine. You know, it's like that's usually how you're going to get
Yeah.
those nicer looking low grades. It's usually a spine issue, one way or the other.
I
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
that you got that, man. Congrats. That's
And
dope.
so some back end on the purpose of this, and we kind of talked about it earlier. Like, comics have not gone crazy yet. Like, when I looked into this, I was like, this book literally has not moved. It is sold for, if you look at the GPA average price of a 1.8, it's basically 15K for the last 3 years. Like, if you look at the 12-month average of each year, it hasn't moved at all. And part of the reason I wanted to do this now was I didn't want to take the chance that I missed the window. Like, if comic books go crazy, or even if it's just select books go crazy, this is one that's on that short list. And maybe maybe it's 15K for the next 6 years, it never moves. But if anything has a chance, this is on that short list of books to go nuts on. And the execution of this was I moved off of a bunch of sealed Pokemon that I had that was, the chart went like this on. So, I use that as the offload strategy of, okay, this part of the collection has gone absolutely crazy. Let me cash out some of this and go after something that I actually want to own. That, maybe has less this probably has less upside than sealed Pokemon, as crazy as that sounds, but it also has probably the way more stable floor.
I want to ask you a question.
From a flip perspective, I paid 15K for this. I looked at the spreadsheets. I am quote unquote into this for like 7K.
And that's my question, right? Are you going to compound the profit if this in a 1.8 say hits 26K, 25K? Are you going to sell and continue rolling your initial capital into profit, or are you just going to be happy that you bought it for 30% or 40% less than what it goes to if it starts to move in the next few years? Let's say a year and a half from now, this is 25K. Do you sell?
No. This was not bought. This was bought as a collection piece, not I want to make X number of dollars on this transaction.
So
I mean, obviously at some point we all end up selling, whether it's us
maybe,
or, whatever, but this would be far down the list of like, I have a lot of collectibles that I could sell if I need money for like life happens. This would be far down on the list. Now, obviously, shit happens in real life. Yeah. If I have to sell it, I have to sell it because real life gets in the way. That's all well and good, but I'm sure there's a number that this could go to that maybe I look at it and are like, all right, like, we got to let this thing go. But on the flip side, this is one of those items that this is well above the amount that I typically spend on stuff when it comes to collectibles. Usually I like to stay 5K or less. I just generally don't like messing with high-end stuff. And the opportunity was there. I put the money into the sealed Pokemon. The market got hotter and faster than I thought that it would. So it allowed me to execute the plan. This was always the end game with the sealed Pokemon. It was to turn it into something that I actually want to own. And I had a short list. There was this, a Black Lotus, and a LeBron Rookie Refractor of 3 Grail items that I would not typically spend that kind of money on. And this was the one that presented the best opportunity and market timing, in my opinion. So I went after this one.
Beautifully done, man. Beautifully done.
Well said. I mean, you're doing the thing that most people don't do, which is to sell high and buy low. You're supposed to do the opposite. That's what I've learned in collectibles is hold on to your Pokemon until it goes to 0 and then buy the A15 when it gets hot. But I don't know. You're just bucking the trend here, bucking the trend. But you also ended up picking this one.
Yeah, I was going to say, if we want to talk about that one real quick, this goes to the con pricing. I picked up that 8.5, and this was part of, I came in quote unquote under budget on the AF15. So then it turned into, well, what else can I get while I'm here?
Yeah, you can't go home with money. You have to spend
well,
it.
In the back of my mind, I have Fanatics Fest and the National coming. So part of me is like, do I just walk out of here with the money? Because it's not like I'm not going to have opportunities to spend it. But I specifically set aside money for Heroes Con, and I had money left over. And I was like, well, I've always wanted a 129. And I think it was Race City Comics had this, who I've actually bought quite a bit of stuff from at Heroes. I think I've bought a book from him almost every Heroes Con. But this one, recent sales are around 2,500-ish in an 8.5. I'm sure it's got a little pump because I guess I bought this pre-last trailer. But he had it stickered for 23, which was like already a fairly solid price. And then I asked to look at it when he handed it to me. He's like, I'll do 2K on it if you want it for 2K. And it was the end of the day on Friday. And I was like, all right, well, con's about to close. Let me kind of formulate a battle plan with what I want to do here. And then I went, first thing Saturday morning, I'm like, all right, I'm going for it. And then it was one of those things where you're like walking to the booth and you're like, I'm going to be really pissed if that book happened to sell like before the show floor opened or during the VIP hour or whatever. It went from like, I kind of want it to you're on that last 100 yards and you're like, I'm going to be so pissed if this isn't on the shelf anymore.
Yeah, well, congratulations. I mean, big books. It's funny as you talk because I just realized that it's got the custom labels on it, both of the books, and it brought me back as I was looking at Manu and Ryan, just thinking about the Reholder Gate situation. Remember how like the loophole was the custom label, and for a while, we were all having those conversations of like, oh, I don't want to touch custom labels. That would be the books that I'd be, do you really want to know situation with. We haven't talked about it in a while. Like, do you guys still feel any of that inkling nowadays, or
nobody
are you
cares?
Like, nah, it's fine.
Nobody cares
I
anymore.
won't pay a premium for it, but I think it's cool if it's on there.
Yeah,
I don't think
Yeah,
I'm
dude.
scared of custom labels.
It's the same as like there were like people that were afraid of like certain numbers when they had the bends in them, the banana bends, and like nobody cares. Like I know there's some people that do, but like the vast majority just don't care.
It's everyone's on to minifigs. So
I do want to know one quick thing on the AF-15, which goes back to kind of what we were talking about with the dealer stuff. With like, there's so much information available to us now. It's kind of like, what are we really doing? And I want to preface this by the dealer that I bought it from was great to work with, but he kept trying to quote like, and if you have a save search for this, there has been like this one seller that has zero feedback that's been like posting an AF-15 once a week, and then it like bids super low because everyone knows that it's not legit. And he kept going back to like, oh, this one thing keeps drawing, like pulling down the number, because he really wanted to, even like I said, he had an 18K sticker on it. And I like, my argument was, I pulled up GPA and looked, and I'm just like, listen, like I get it, like it's an AF-15, but at no point in the last 3 years has one of these sold for 18K. So like, what are we really doing with this number? Like, I get that's your asking point. Cool. But like, what are we really, like, this number is not real. Like, this book has not sold for 18K since like 2022, 2021. So like, that's not like, I get like the one sale might pull down the average like $500, but it's not pulling it down from 18K to 15K,
Yeah, that's a good point. What was his reaction when you were kind of making that? I mean, obviously he ended.
He
was cool about it.
Yeah,
he was very cool about it. And yeah, I talked about this in the vlog. And like I said, I don't know if this guy was playing 3D chess with me or not, but I talked to him and he said, "Are you interested in that?" I said, "Yeah, I'm very interested. I'm looking for like a 1.8." And he's like, "Well, if you don't like this one, my buddy has 2 1.8s." And I'm in front of this guy looking to do like a 15 to 16K deal, and he's like, I was like, "Oh, I didn't see those." And he's like, "Well, I'll walk you over there right now." And the dealer literally grabbed me and walked me halfway across the building to his buddy's booth to show me his buddy's 2 AF-15s. So like, for the dealer to potentially give up a 15K sale, I thought was, like, he's walking me from his table to another table to see like the same exact book. Now, in hindsight, I thought about it a little bit more, and where I went to the 3D chess angle of it was, did he know like his book presented way better than those two? And they were all the same price. The other dealer was at 17.5K sticker on both his copies, and they both, in my opinion, look worse for different reasons. One had a huge tear on the spine, like not even on the spine, like to the little bit right of the spine, and the other one had a huge corner out of the top right corner, was just missing from the front cover. So it's like, there's no way I'm paying that price for those. So is it like him doing the whole like, I'm gonna be so nice and walk this over, and it makes him look good in front of his buddy, and it makes me be like, oh, this guy's great, like he's walking me over to show me these other 2 copies that aren't, like, he's potentially walking a sale, but in the back of his mind, does he know like my book is better than those 2? Like, if anything, this is going to help him bring me back to my table.
Yeah, he might have been. It was a high risk, high reward play, but it ended up working out for everybody. I think.
Yeah,
I mean, especially when you look at it, like when he's selling it direct to you, he doesn't have eBay fees. He doesn't have, Heritage or Comic Link or Comic Connect or whatever. Like he's, what he's selling it for, he's getting. So,
well, it was funny because when we did the deal, I don't know if it was his wife, girlfriend, significant other, whatever. She was like, "Oh, you sold that?" Because it was. I mean, I bought that within the first couple hours of the convention floor being open, so I'm sure he was pretty happy that he got to sell a 15K book within like 2 hours of the show floor being open. But his wife was like, "What did you get for it?" And he told her the number, and she's just like, "I thought you said you wanted to get 16K minimum for that, and now you go sell it for 15." And he said something about
were you there when she? So you're there?
Yeah, it was hilarious. And he's like, I did. He's like, that's the number that I had in my mind. And he's like, but when 15K cash comes out, and he was like trying to explain to her, like, well, if we sold it on eBay, like we're gonna lose. If we get 16K for it on eBay, this is actually the same thing. Like trying to explain to her like what we would explain trying to talk to a dealer. So it was kind of funny to see that aspect of it. He's like, I thought about countering you. He's like, would you have done 15.5? And I was like, I would have walked at 15.5, but I probably would have came back and ended up buying it. But we wouldn't have. You wouldn't have the money in your hand right now. And then I actually saw him the next day or later that day buying from a dealer. And I tapped him on the shoulder and I was like, "Oh, you spending my money already?" He's like, "Yeah, I got to reload." It was Cosmic Comics and Toys. I think he has 2 shops in Michigan. He said. But cool guy, great guy. He was hilarious. He was great to work with. And shout out to Race City. I think Ryan, you said you might have bought some stuff from him.
Yeah, he sells on Instagram.
Well. Yeah, I thought he was, like I said, I think I've bought a book from him almost every Heroes Con. They have a lot of the same dealers, so like I know, like when I walk in, I'm like, okay, I want to hit these couple of tables because I bought from those guys previously, and they always have good prices on stuff or fair prices. So I'm always like, I immediately want to go to their tables to see what they have for inventory.
I think maybe I bought my Archie 50, like my 6.5 or whatever it is from him. Yeah, like he always has cool stuff.
But general con pricing, I would say a majority of folks that you're probably looking at about 10 to 20% over where it should be. But once again, I think that's within the range of you being able to at least talk them down to close to market price.
No, I think you're right. I mean, 10 to 20% seems fine, especially since a lot of comic dealers were at 1.50, 60% over market. And like you say, like you can't talk somebody 40% down to overpay by 10%. It's just still ridiculous, So,
I mean, friend of the channel, Como Comics, he sent us some pictures like, I won't say which books are dealing. He's like, these 2 books are still here. He had seen them at another show before.
You go to Heroes Con for like 5 straight years of the same book, just at the same wall, with the same sticker on it. But hey,
not everybody moves their prices.
Yeah. I mean, that's every show you go. I joke about this in sports card vlogs of there's shows within a show. There's, the percentage of dealers that set up that actually want to sell shit and they're priced relatively appropriately. And there's always going to be X percentage of dealers that they don't actually want to sell anything to people that remotely have any idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're just hoping someone walks up and just pays the number, almost like a car dealership, really. Like they're just hoping
100%.
Someone comes in. Yeah, I'll take the Toyota RAV4 with your 6K and add-ons and your paint protection and all this other crap, versus someone that actually walks in as a semi-educated buyer. So it's just a matter of like what percentage of the room wants to actually sell shit and what percentage of the room just wants to have a museum. And I could say, having gone the Heroes Con 4 or 5 times now, it has shifted more towards, oh, okay, I actually kind of just want to sell this shit. Like we're not trying to price at the COVID bubble anymore. But those guys are still in the room for sure.
Right. One other aspect before, I don't want to send us down another talking hole with this, but we'll have to address this at some point in another show. To that point, the problem is that if you do price as a dealer at these shows somewhere within market, like right away, what ends up happening is the other dealers buy your inventory before the doors open. So then you sell at your booth. Those other dealers either mark it up or they put it away because they're going to do whatever they do with it at some other event. So that's one of the pain points. Is like you could, even if you're a dealer who is well intentioned to sell at market, you get your inventory swallowed up. But that seems like that's a whole other can of worm conversation that we can.
I want to at least. I think we should at least pick the scab a little bit. Like, is that wrong? Like, why should you care who you're selling to? If you want to sell it if you want to sell whatever it is at a certain price point and you price it at that price point, and someone walks up and they are willing to buy it at that price point, should it matter whether you're selling that 30 minutes before the con opens or 3 hours into your day?
Well,
I've had that conversation
Ryan, I'm going to let you go.
with Drew.
Wait.
Yeah,
I'll let you go right, but to the title of our show, there are no collectors. There's just only dealers buying out everything. But Ryan, so sorry, I had to get that in.
I was saying, because like we've had that very same conversation in some different group chats, and because I've asked Drew about it, because I don't sell at shows and he does, and he said like a lot of times, I think what it comes to is like a lot of times it tends to be the newer sellers, like the newer sellers where they're pricing things, like to move, and because they have so much into the show, like whatever it is, travel or whatever, it's like if they can get all this stuff sold right away, and then they're just like they can just cruise for the next couple of days, that's why they do it, and it's tough because like since they're priced well, they would probably sell all that stuff anyway throughout the weekend. But it's frustrating from an observation side, where you're just like, this is why people end up hating cons. And it's because it's this like in purchasing, that goes on that makes everything just exponentially more expensive there. And when in reality, they're probably, before you walked in the door, there were places you could have gone to that had reasonable prices. And so it's just, it's not really like that. It's a bad thing for that person to do it. It's what makes, I think, a lot of the con experiences in terms of buying kind of suck, and so
I mean, it happens. We see it a lot at card shows right now for sure, because the repackers they'll buy a table just to get a dealer badge. They'll set like one card. You'll literally walk through a card show, you'll see a case that they put cards in. There'll be like 3 cards in it and a buying sign. But all they're buying the table for is access to the dealer badge to be able to walk the show floor 2 hours before anybody else can. Like I get a media pass for a lot of these shows, so a lot of times I get access to the show floor ahead of time, and you'll walk around, dealers will still be setting up, and there'll be people wiping out whole tables 2 hours before the show starts. Now in cards, it's a little bit different because cards are way more transactional. So from a dealer perspective, they get wiped out, and then they kind of flip the script, and they're like, come to me, I need to spend cash. So everyone walking in that has their Zion case with them is a target for them because they need to buy to reload their inventory. And that keeps the money flowing in the card world a lot fast. Like the velocity of money moves way faster in cards, I think, because of that. I don't know if that works in comics as much, because I don't know how many people are walking in. To your point, Ryan, this shit takes up a ton of space. It's heavy. It's not easy to carry around. You might throw a couple slabs in your backpack that you want to move, but you're not walking in there. I could walk in with a roller case with hundreds of cards in it, potentially. I can't do that at a Comic-Con.
Well, shout out to the dealers that are trying to do right out there. Shout out to the ones that hooked up Rob with his book. Shout out to Heroes Con. Seemed like it was a fun event. We'll have to all make it out there at some point. And shout out to Extreme Motors 4617 for the $5, who says, you guys are doing great. Keep up the good work. Love you guys. Thanks so much, Extreme Monster.
Thank you.
Love you back. We appreciate all the super chats. Well, a couple last little topics before we kind of, wind down here, but I did want to hit this one right here, which we were a little light on the card content on tonight's episode. So we had to kind of finish out with a little bit of a card story. But guys, Marvel superheroes, the next Magic the Gathering set, their version of the Avengers, which Manu, you actually mentioned a little earlier in the show, is set to come out just next week. This is the collector booster boxes are about to hit market. And I thought that this was a really interesting post, because this guy said that 123 Marvel superhero collector booster boxes opened, not by me. Here were the hits. So somebody did the experiment. They opened up a bunch of these boxes. Right now, they kind of are retailing around like $450 to $500. So
that's a lot of money in boxes.
Yeah, that is a lot of money to be opening up. But here, where were their hit breakdowns? And to put it into a little bit of perspective, the toll rate seems to be a lot lower than that of Spider-Man, and actually significantly low. And I don't know, Rob, maybe you can kind of weigh in on this. Like, is this one of those things where if the pull rates are low, does that make the hit cards more valuable, or does that make people less interested in making attempts to pull these cards? Before you answer that, there's a couple highlights here. This Thanos one is the Mind Stone. Last set in the Spider-Man set, it was the Soul Stone. He did not get the grand prize, which is the cosmic version. He got this version with the Thanos. So that's a lot of boxes to open to only get one of those. I think that the Soul Stone version in the Spider-Man set sells for about $2,000 per card. And then some of the other comic cover hits are some of the interesting chase cards. But Rob, let me kind of kick it to you here. What do you think about this experiment, this pull rate seemingly low? Do you think that that's a good thing or a bad thing for collectors out there?
On the ultra rare stuff, it definitely boosts it if it makes it harder to hit. It could also give you insights into the print run, like potentially maybe the print run's bigger, which I don't think with this one that's the case, just based off of the pre-order numbers for it. And it actually can impact the price of the sealed wax as well, because if you have to rip more of it to get the hits, that means the velocity of it getting ripped is a lot quicker. So it pulls out the sealed supply a lot faster potentially. And this isn't, this sounds crazy that someone would do this, but this is in Magic. This is the one of the TCGs that this actually makes sense, because Magic is very player oriented, not collector oriented. So they need and want the singles. Like, players want the singles to bling out their decks. Like, this is pretty common to kind of rip cases upon cases upon cases, and if you sell fast enough, you could actually do better than just selling the sealed boxes in some cases. A lot of stores will just do it for their inventory too, because they want to have inventory for stuff. And it kind of, I forget who it was when we talked earlier about, people don't want to grade Magic cards or whatever because the Magic folks get mad about grading cards. It's a similar thing. Like, of all the TCGs, Magic is by far and away the least graded, especially when you look at it in terms of how popular it is, because the players actually want the cards to play with and in their decks. They don't want them slabbed. They don't want them in a case. They don't want them on display. They want them in their hands to like actually shuffle them and play with them.
Which to me, to that point, it feels like Manu, Marvel card collectors like should be looking at these sets more. Don't you think?
I mean, that's what we were saying about maybe that Spider-Man set being undervalued now, right? Like, worth picking up, that Spider-Man Magic set.
Yeah.
I mean, and like the interesting thing to me, like when I look at this with like Pokemon, I feel like when the hits are tough to come by, it causes people to complain a lot, but long term, that sealed product tends to be pretty valuable. Like when you look at like I can't remember the set now, but the set that has like the Umbreon, the Moonbreon in it, like that one, like people complained all the time about how hard it is. Yeah, Evolving Skies, how hard it is to pull, and it was like people didn't like that at first, but then that became like one of the marquee sets for Pokemon, and it's because it was so hard to pull that card that people wanted.
Wait, Swag, connect me again with the thought you were having. I think I misunderstood what you were saying. Why should we be looking? Why should Marvel card guys be looking into this? Walk me through that.
To Rob's point, this type of set, Magic players, they want to play with the cards. It's an actual game for them. They're handling them. Like, presumably there's less tens, there's more wear and tear. People are ripping this stuff. So when it comes to the fact that Magic, which got this large player base, on top of, now they're doing this set that's Marvel. So if you're like a Marvel card collector and you like this artwork anyways, this seems like a good place to dip your toes in, which I understand. Topps Chrome also, is about to come out with its Marvel set. Marvel recently showed some of the new cards. They're doing a bunch of these reflections. These look pretty cool as well.
We were a little critical of some of the top stuff a couple of weeks ago. That Venom Reflections card looks amazing.
Amazing? Yeah, let me see.
Some of these ones you can see on the screen are pretty sweet. So, I mean, I think that this set's going to be popular. I tend to think, but I am biased, that owning the Magic cards is cooler to me, but I am biased. So, but I don't know. I just think from a Marvel card collector perspective, that would be something that you might have thoughts on.
It is a gnarly Venom card. No, now I understand what you're saying. So predicated on, as long as the Magic community that's actually, playing the game, as long as they're buying them and playing with them, meaning there's going to be fewer in high grade available for the people that want the, graded collections, then there seems to be an opportunity there, right? Just like some of those comic books that are damaged from the factory, the 9/8 might be worth more than a 9/8 would have been worth had not all of them been damaged. That sort of scenario, right? So as long as they are being played, meaning the Magic community likes them and buys them and plays with them, then that opportunity is real. But like the Spider-Man set, the Magic community initially they kind of rejected that set, from my understanding. They're like, man, the playability of these suck anyway. So the only people that were buying them were the Marvel card guys. In which case, they're all high grade. They're all PSA 10s, because no one's playing.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now, I will say it again. Take it with a grain of salt. I am biased. I did work on this set, but go pick it up. It makes me look good if this thing does well. But the Spider-Man set was rushed a little bit. They didn't get to come out with all the mechanics that they wanted, and so from a playing standpoint, it was underwhelming. However, early speculation of like the players who are looking at the set lists of these superhero cards, the Avenger set, people are starting to get really excited about this one, and that says a lot, considering like typically, like you already hinted at, Magic players are a little allergic to these like collaboration sets where Magic has done collaborations with like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They did collaborations with Lord of the Rings. They're going to do collaborations with other IPs, and now doing Marvel. So Magic players are a little like, can you just do the old school Magic stuff and not do these collaborations? But the reality is these things sell way more. It's just because they're pulling in the casual fans. But
I mean, some of them do, like the Lord of the Rings stuff sells insanely.
Well, and there was that like Christmas box, the Lord of the Rings. I think it was like
that one.
Yeah, that was worth $5,000 for a collector's box.
That was the case of nobody wanted that, so they lightly printed it, and then everybody wanted it.
Yeah, and Final Fantasy also a big seller.
Great as well. Yeah.
But anyways, either way, I'm excited about this set. It's going to come out
this weekend,
next week.
Right?
I think.
Oh, next.
Yeah,
week,
I think
this is pre-release weekend. This weekend.
Yeah, but I'll tell you this: I'm going to pick up a couple of these boxes, and I might have to do a box break on my channel. So I don't know if Robbie, you're going to do any box breaks for this, but
I don't have it in my plans to grab one. I do have a couple Spider-Man ones behind me, but I had the opportunity to pre-order one of these, and it just kind of got lost in the shuffle of things. From my perspective, if I'm not going to open it, and this goes back to kind of what we talked about before, it's like, would I rather spend $400 on a sealed Magic box or $400 on a sealed Pokemon box? Like from strictly a sealed perspective of sitting it on a shelf, like that $400 is going to turn into $800 way faster in the Pokemon than it is in the Magic. The Magic will probably get there. Like I have plenty of Magic stuff that I bought down there that has ended up really great, but it took 4 years to get there. For it to like, some of the stuff I'm like triple my money, which is cool, but it took way longer to get there than Pokemon does.
Yeah. Well, you could also put your money in fake signed cards. Speaking of Marvel cards, this card signed by Captain America, Spider-Man, Hulk, and Thor sold last night on Golden for $35,000. I mean,
printed, not signed.
Yeah, my joke is like some intern signing that thing.
It's not signed. That's printed on there. That's not actually an autograph.
That's printed.
It is actually. That's even worse. Oh,
it's even worse. It says one of one, but listen.
That's the whole thing. It's a one of one. It's just a one of one from the set, and one of one's bringing what one of ones bring in. That's it.
I know. But like, imagine.
But I saw like there were in comments, people were like, "Oh, was that signed by like Robert Downey Jr.?" Or I guess it'd be Cap, so not Robert Downey Jr., but whatever. And so like by the actors, and it's like, oh no, that's not what that is. And you always wonder, it's like, is that what the person that bought it thought?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Who knows?
Isn't this like a reflection? Like, here's where we are, guys. Like, first of all, it's already silly that a brand new printed card, just because it's a one of one, is $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, whatever, right? I'm not being, I'm just saying it's brand new. It was printed yesterday. They put a one of one on it. There's other color versions of the same thing that are printed out of 10 and then out of 50 out of whatever. That's already kind of silly. But now we're at a place where it's like, here's a one of one, and this is the card. This is just the artwork on the card. The artwork on this card happens to be the artwork symbolizing autographs. But it's like a joke, I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it, but it's like, here's where we are.
Yeah, here is where we are. Well, where we also are is towards the end of our show. And before we wrap it up, we have to do Manu's Minute. But also, I got a little jealous of Manu's Minute. And I started thinking, like, maybe Swag needs like and also his own kind of minute, because there's been a little thing that I've been kind of shaping. I'm the one coming with these like stupid speculation things like League of Legends Riftbound the card game or Mario Arcade Flyers. I got another stupid one for you guys.
60 seconds with Swag.
See, I thought we were going to get Swag second, not sponsored by Blue Chew.
Swag second, not sponsored by Blue Chew. Here's my next spec. What do you guys think about this one? Guys, we are getting GTA 6 finally after years of never getting it. It's got its release date on November 19th. The Take-Two stock went up like 8% in one day this past week, which was pretty crazy. So you ready? Grand Theft Auto trading cards. What do you guys think? Are we going to go to the moon with these things? I mean,
you've already bought them, haven't you?
Unfortunately, this was not my purchase, but
here.
I was thinking, what Grand Theft Auto trading cards, could go to the moon. I was actually looking to see if there was Grand Theft Auto comic books, but there weren't. But that's my second with Swag segment as my next.
I would rather buy the new K-pop Demon Hunter sealed than this.
You're such a hater. You're such a hater. Rob, you know that every time you buy something that I recommend, you do well with it, right?
I believe my League of Legends box is in the red.
What about your Avengers 8?
That's way in the red.
Oh, damn.
I actually no longer own that book.
Swag spec, not
Swag
doing
spec. Swag second spec. Anyways,
I was waiting for you to specifically call that out. I was watching your collection buy video and you were talking about Avengers 8 and you're like, at one point this used to be like big spec, and then I ripped Neo off hardcore for one of these.
Don't listen, it's a running joke. Don't listen to my spec. Here's the thing, guys. I'm not actually going to buy these things. Okay, I'm just throwing it out as like you never know. All right, we got to go on now to Manu's minute. And Manu, I got no setup other than take it away.
No, okay, great. This is fun because this is a story that I wanted to tell, but it also it has some nice questions about what you would have done or how you feel about it. So shout out to our sponsor, Elite Comics11, and shout out to Ali, because a few weeks ago, Ali gave me a call. And because this is a book that I really, really love, and it's the sort of thing that I'm really into. But so Venom Lethal Protector, we all know that book, that Bagley cover. There's a black error where the red foil didn't get laid down properly, and that's already dope. And that book in a 9.8, it's like, it's a rough range. I'll say like $5,500 to $8,500. I know it's a wide range, but it just depends on where you buy it. If the person's your friend, they graded it, so on and so forth. Call it $6,500, whatever. But most people know of the direct edition. Very few people know that the black error actually does exist as a newsstand as well. And some people say they've never seen it. Here is the copy that Ali from Elite, the owner of Elite, graded himself recently after buying a collection, because from time to time they do buy collections as well. So hit them up. Or anything that you might want to sell them. You could always hit them up if you don't want to post it on their platform and see what they say. But in any case, he gives me a call and he shows me this, and I was like, oh my gosh. And we had a conversation about what is this worth? Because people that are just looking at the recorded sales of this, there's one recorded sale, it's during the pandemic, and it's 20,000 and change. And a lot of people assume that it might be the only copy. But if the same way Ali called me, other people call me about this book as well. So I'm aware that it isn't the only copy, and I have had opportunities to buy. So I had some insight into what I've offered on some and what offers higher than mine were accepted. And so we had the conversation about value, about price. Scarcity aside, it is an extremely scarce book. It does not come up very often. Most people don't even know that it exists. And there is a history which hasn't been confirmed or verified, but there's some speculation of fake copies that have made it through CGC. So it's not to say that if it's CGC slabbed, it's real, but there is something that certain collectors will tell you to look out for. Now, I'm going to say this, but do your own due diligence, because I cannot confirm or verify this, confirm or deny or whatever. But it is said by some people that have done some deep digging that if the copy has no red on it whatsoever, That doesn't mean it's fake, but that is a red flag that someone imitated a black error. So if it has no red whatsoever, because many of these have a little bit of red foil here, a little bit of red foil there, it's not completely black. So that's just the first thing to be sort of cautious of. But no one knows if that means it's fake for sure. But there was this other thing where in the top left corner of this book where it says Marvel Comics, the ones that are said to be fake are not only completely black, but that blue box has no remnant of Marvel Comics, not the embossed, not the raised, not any shadow of it, nothing. It is just a solid blue box. It looks as though the comic was manufactured intentionally, perfectly to represent the error, where majority of the errors have some remnants of what was supposed to be printed. So that's just a side note. In any case, this is a real one. Ollie graded it himself, and it got the 9.8. And so he made a reel about it, made it available, to his community. You will find really dope, rare things like this on Elite's page as well, so definitely follow their page. And then some conversations started, right? Certain people started making offers, but Ali ended up trading this book for a book that he personally is more connected to, and it's a very cool book. It's actually, I pulled up some details here, but here it is. It's Four Color Comics issue 16 from 1941. And this is the first appearance of Mickey Mouse in comic books. And I didn't do this research, but it was told to me that the last sale of this book was $22K, and they did an even trade. And so that's putting a $22K value, which is very reasonable, on that Lethal Protector. And so I thought this is awesome because I think both of these are awesome. Now, here's what I want to ask. Which book would you have kept? Who do you think got the better side of this, right? Because this book, the Four Color Comics, there's only 149 graded total, and it's from 1941. All right, it's ancient, it's very cool, this cover's cool, everything. There are 4 7.5s, last sale apparently being $22K. The newsstand Black Error Lethal Protector, it is not broken apart on the census. So out of the 129.8 black errors, we don't know how many of them are newsstands. But if you've been paying attention and you look at what comes available, newsstands never really become available. So it's a small fraction of that. Personally, me, obviously, I want the Black Error 9.8 newsstand Lethal Protector. But I want to ask Ryan, I want to ask Rob, Mickey, I want to ask you, which of these two would you want? And to me, this is just an awesome story of two awesome books being transacted through Elite. So double purpose for me wanting to share this, but I love this book. I want this book. And most people don't even know this exists. But let's start with you, Swag. Which one would you take?
All right, people in the chat are already doing it as well, but you
Okay.
guys should let us know which one you would rather have. So me personally, I love this book. Like, I love the first Mickey Mouse in comics. This is the one that I would personally rather collect. However, I will do a little bit of a caveat and say that I do wonder if you needed to sell this book, you might have an easier time getting a purchase with this one. I think if you have this, you may have to consign, auction, really work at this thing. It might be a little harder to move because, Golden Age at this particular level is tricky. I mean, maybe Ryan's gonna have more thoughts on that, and I don't really know the Venom Lethal market like you guys do, but my answer is this, although maybe this one would be easier to move. So that's my thought.
Okay.
So for me, I'll say, like, let's just assume they're both like relatively close in value. It is tough to say, like, the Four Color, I was just looking at some recent sales, like it had the $22,000 roughly sale. It had a sale right before that I think was around like 16.8 or 17. So
Okay.
you could say it's maybe like 18 to 20 in that range. It might push to the 22. Like 22 is on the high side.
Okay.
The Lethal Protector was a while ago, and it's like a COVID sale, so it's tough to call,
yeah.
But I personally, not just because of Golden Age, like I would take the Four Color 16. The reason I would, though, is I don't personally really like having high, and I've talked about this on the channel before, I don't like having high dollar 9.8s because I'm always so afraid of something shifting and taking damage in the case, and now it becomes a 9.6 and now it's worth $4,000, or $5,000 or something like that. Whereas if
No,
the
but
that
the label says 9.8. That's all.
yeah,
that
that's
matters.
true. I know the label
True,
says
true,
9.8, but,
true.
but
Look
What are
at
we
the
talking
second
about
one.
here, Ryan? The label says 9.8. It could be a
but
6.0.
that's the stuff that always worries me. Whereas like a 7.5, like that's going to be a 7.5 probably no matter what happens to that book in the case. Now the other thing I will say with respect to liquidity of that book, now that is a higher grade than what I've owned. I've owned a couple lower grade ones. I think I had a 4.5 and a 3, maybe something like that. And when I put I had them both in my PC for a little bit. And when I decided to sell them, they both sold almost instantly. That is a very, very desirable book when it comes to Golden Age comics. Now, when you're pushing a $20,000 price, that may be a little harder to get that cash number, but it is still a book that will move. I mean, like, you don't see them very often. I've only seen I've seen one at my local show, and it's always up there. It's a restored copy that has a really high price on it, and so nobody buys it. But like that, like, you don't come across them, and that grade is near impossible. And I do think it actually would be a little more liquid than you might think. Probably not as liquid as the Venom, but still not. It's not. I don't think it's going to be a tough sell.
Yeah.
Right. Rob, do you got any opinions on either of these books?
I'm gonna split the difference here. I would rather have the Venom behind me, like on display. If you're telling me which one I would rather park my money in, it's the 4 colors.
That's a good answer. I can
Yeah,
respect
I
that
think that that's
answer.
a logical answer for sure.
And
Well,
before
Go
we
ahead, go ahead.
sorry, before we go, Philip, our friend Philip in chat said something very cool here. He said, my friend still owns the very first 10.0 by CGC from May of 2000, and it just so happens to be a Venom Black Error. That's not saying it's a newsstand, but it's a Venom Black Error. That's CGC's first ever given 10.0. I didn't know that. Philip's telling us that. That's amazing. Shout out to you, my man. That's
Wow.
serious.
wow. No, that's definitely would be interesting to see if that ever came to market. We'll have to keep our eye out on it, but maybe we'll find it pop up on Elite Comics 11 one day, which once again, shout out to Elite Comics 11 for sponsoring tonight's show. We really appreciate them for supporting our podcast. So let's support them back. Go give them a follow. If you haven't already, let's get them to 50K. Go check out some of the books they got up for sale. Good deals all the time. Tell them the Ungraded Truth sent you. And also hop on over to the Ungraded Truth YouTube channel. Give it a like, subscribe, hook us up, pop on over to our Spotify page, give us a 5-star review, go give us a follow, because we appreciate all your guys' support as we love the show. We enjoy it. It's fun. We want to keep doing it, and we do it for you guys. And if nobody shows up to watch it, we're not really going to want to do it. So we appreciate everybody that tunes in every Friday or Sunday or Saturday whenever we do our shows.
Yeah.
You know, I think we want to ideally do them on Saturdays, but you know, we keep getting busy, so we have to kind of shift around. But I kind of like that we just drop it on the people randomly. So with that said, thanks so much, guys, for tuning in tonight. We appreciate you. We'll catch you on the next episode. Detective Comics set a record for 1.8 million. Nobody really cares.
Who are annoyed that people are asking them questions, is this book banned? That question didn't exist a year ago.
Somebody's submitting like 25 vintage books and getting 15 9.9s.
We always think, how could it ever get crazier? And then it always does.